Hello there, and welcome to Scroll to Sleep. If you've been scrolling all day and just need a moment to wind down, you're in the right place. We're here with some more stories from Reddit to help you drift off. If you enjoy relaxing to these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe. Now, dim your screen, get comfortable, and let's get straight to tonight's stories.
Story 1.
I paid for every single cent of my daughter's dream wedding. The flowers, the venue, the catering, all of it. And then I found out she hired security specifically to keep me from walking through the door. Let me back up. My daughter Ava spent her entire life punishing me for something her biological mother did. And when she finally got engaged, I thought writing that check would be the thing that healed us. Instead, she took my money, planned the wedding of her dreams, and deliberately cut me and my wife out of it like we were strangers off the street. When I found out I did something that half of you will call justice and the other half will call unforgivable. So here's the cast. I'm a 57-year-old father who's been through the ringer. My wife is Mercy, 45, the most patient woman God ever put on this earth. My daughter is Ava, 27, and her fiancé is Matt. To understand what happened at the wedding, you need to understand what happened when Ava was 7. Her biological mother, Diane, sat Ava on the living room couch one Tuesday afternoon, told her she was going on a trip and never came back. No phone call, no letter, nothing. She moved to France with a man she'd been seeing behind my back for over a year, and she left our daughter like you'd leave an old coat at a restaurant without a second thought. I found Ava still sitting on that couch at 9 o'clock that night, shoes on, backpack packed, waiting for Mommy to take her wherever Mommy was going. She never forgave me for not being the one who left. I know that doesn't make logical sense, but grief in a child doesn't follow logic. Ava decided somewhere deep in the wiring of her 7-year-old brain that I was the reason Diane disappeared. That if I had been better, more lovable, more something, her mother would have stayed. And every year that passed without Diane reaching out only calcified that belief into something harder than bone. By 12, Ava was stealing from my wallet. By 15, she was getting suspended for fights. By 17, she was deep in drugs. Things went so far that she had to be sent to rehab. She graduated from college at 25, 3 years late, and the next year she relapsed, and I had to admit her again for a few months. It wouldn't be rude if I call her a pain in the butt, because indeed she is. She has always troubled me, embarrassed me, and made my life miserable. Thank goodness I found such an understanding wife in Mercy. Had she been any other woman, she would have manipulated me to abandon Ava. But she was the one who always pacified me to be patient with Ava. I cannot thank her enough for all the support she had lent and all the sacrifices she had made for me and Ava. So Ava's problem was two things. First, I remarried, and second, I married Mercy. You see, Mercy is not a native-born American. Her family originally belonged to the Middle East, Iran specifically. She came here at 19 with nothing but a suitcase and an engineering degree she had to re-earn from scratch because nobody recognized it. She built herself from the ground up, kindest woman I've ever known. And Ava treated her like an invader from the day I introduced them. The slurs I won't repeat. The Thanksgiving she accidentally knocked Mercy's saffron rice onto the floor and said the house smelled like a refugee camp. The time she told Mercy to go back to her desert in front of my parents who sat there in stunned silence. Mercy absorbed all of it. Every single time she'd squeeze my hand afterward and say, "She's hurting. She doesn't mean it. Give her time." 15 years of time. Then Matt came along and something in Ava softened. Not toward us, toward life. She got clean, stayed clean, held a job. When Matt proposed, she called me. First voluntary phone call in 2 years. She said, "Dad, I want a real wedding." My hands were shaking when I hung up. I turned to Mercy and said, "I think this is it. I think she's coming back to us." Mercy smiled and said, "Then give her everything." So I did. I wrote a check for $114,000. The venue alone was $42,000, a vineyard estate outside Napa that Ava had pinned on her vision board since she was 20. I didn't flinch. I didn't negotiate. I handed over every cent because I believed, with the desperate faith of a man who'd been drowning for 2 decades, that this act of love would finally be enough. 3 weeks before the wedding, I called the planner to add my brother to the guest list. She hesitated. That hesitation, that half-second pause on the other end of the line, is the sound I will hear for the rest of my life. The list is actually at capacity, Mr. Herman. For one person, just squeeze in one chair. Another pause. "I think you should speak with Ava about the guest list directly." Something cold moved through my chest. "Send me the list." She didn't want to. I could hear her wrestling with it. But I was the one writing her checks and she knew it. The email arrived 11 minutes later. 218 names. I read every single one. Then I read them again. Then a third time, slowly, my finger tracing down the screen of my phone while Mercy watched me from across the kitchen, a dish towel going still in her hands. My name wasn't on it. Mercy's name wasn't on it. At the very bottom of the document, in a section labeled venue security notes was a line typed in bold. Asterisk. Under no circumstances are the following individuals to be granted access to the property. My full name, Mercy's full name. If they attempt entry, security is to escort them off premises immediately. Do not engage. Do not explain. Asterisk. My daughter hadn't just forgotten to invite me. She had specifically, deliberately, in writing, hired people to physically stop me from attending the wedding I paid for. I drove to Ava's apartment. She opened the door in a bathrobe, saw my face, and didn't even flinch. You saw the list, she said. Not a question. Ava. My voice cracked. I could feel tears coming and I hated myself for it. I paid for everything. Everything. And you. And that's supposed to buy you a seat. She leaned against the doorframe. You owed me that money, Dad. You owed me a childhood. You owed me a mother. So yeah, I took it. And no, you're not coming. You or your wife. I'm your father. Well, good for you. I stood there with tears running into my collar, and my 27-year-old daughter looked at me like I was a stranger soliciting donations on her porch. Stop with the emotional drama, she said. This is exactly the negativity I didn't want at my wedding. She closed the door. I sat in my car for 45 minutes. When I finally drove home, Mercy took one look at me and didn't ask a single question. She just held me while I sobbed at the kitchen table like a child. Then she sat down across from me, folded her hands, and said something she had never said in 15 years of marriage. We have to do something. The next morning, I picked up the phone and called the vineyard. I canceled the vineyard with 3 sentences. Told the manager there had been a change of plans, thanked him for his time, and asked him to process the refund to my card. He didn't ask questions. People who manage $42,000 venues learn early not to. I left everything else intact. The planner, the caterers, the florist, the string quartet. Every vendor Ava had handpicked with my money remained booked and confirmed. I didn't touch them because I didn't need to. A wedding without a venue is a parade without a street. All those beautiful arrangements would show up on the morning of, and they would have nowhere to go. Mercy watched me hang up the phone. She didn't celebrate. She didn't say good. She just nodded once slowly like a woman, acknowledging a surgery that needed to happen but would leave a scar. I blocked Ava's number. Changed the gate code to our property. Then I sat on the back porch with a glass of water and waited 11 days for the world to collapse. The wedding was scheduled for 10 in the morning. I know what happened next because Matt told me later, piece by piece, in a voice that sounded like a man recounting a car accident. The decorators arrived at the vineyard at 6 a.m. Gates locked. Manager on site told them the reservation had been canceled. They called the planner. The planner called Ava. Ava didn't believe it. She drove out there in her wedding dress, not fully zipped, veil, crooked mascara already running, and tried to argue her way past the front entrance. When the vineyard security told her the booking no longer existed, she shoved one of them. Actually put her hands on a man's chest and pushed. Matt said he had to physically wrap his arms around her and drag her backward before they called the police. She was screaming my name. Not Dad, my full name, like I was a defendant. They didn't get arrested. Matt got her into the car. She drove straight to my house, still in the dress, and punched the gate code. It didn't work. She punched it again. Again. Then she leaned on the intercom buzzer for 11 straight minutes. I know because I was sitting in my living room 30 feet from the speaker listening to every second. Mercy sat beside me, her hand on my knee, neither of us moving. Ava's voice through the intercom started furious and ended guttural animal. She called me things I won't write. She called Mercy things that would get you banned from any platform on the internet. Then the buzzing stopped, and through the window, I watched her car peel away from the curb, leaving tire marks on the asphalt like a wound. She drove to my parents' house next. My mother, 78 years old, arthritic, the woman who knitted Ava a blanket for every birthday until Ava told her to stop, opened the door and tried to hug her granddaughter. Ava screamed in her face, told my father he'd raised a monster, told my mother she was complicit. When my father quietly said, "Ava, your dad loves you, maybe you should talk to him," she grabbed a potted plant from their porch and hurled it against the siding of their house. My mother called me that night crying. "How could you do this to her?" she said. "She's your daughter." "She banned me for my own gift, Mom." "She's still your daughter. And I'm still her father." That's the whole problem. 2 days later, my mother called again. Different tone entirely. Flat. Exhausted. "She came back," Mom said. "She told your father he should die. She told me I was never her real grandmother." Long pause. I understand now. I canceled Ava's credit card that week. The one I'd been quietly paying since she was 21. 6 years of groceries, gas, clothing, and whatever else she swiped, without ever once saying thank you. The symmetry wasn't lost on me. She locked me out of her biggest day, so I locked her out of the account that had been silently underwriting her life. Ava married Matt 3 weeks later in a friend's backyard. Folding chairs, grocery store cake. I heard about it secondhand. For 5 months, nothing. Silence so thick it had texture. Then Matt called me from a number I didn't recognize. His voice was thin, scraped raw. He said Ava had thrown a plate at his head during an argument about dishes, that she'd been volatile since the wedding, screaming, breaking things, disappearing for days. He said he loved her, but he was afraid of her, and the shame of admitting that to her father made him pause so long I thought the call had dropped. "I'm sorry," he said. "I saw the red flags. I thought love would be enough." "It never is with her," I said. "Believe me, he asked me to help. Not financially, just help. Talk to her. Try." So I went. Alone, like he asked. Mercy stayed home. I sat in Ava's kitchen in an apartment that smelled like stale laundry and burnt coffee, and I told my daughter I would pay for therapy. Any therapist, any program, anywhere in the country. She stared at me with eyes that looked exactly like Diane's, and she said, "I want to kill your wife." Not metaphorically. She said it with the flat calm of someone reading a grocery list. "You disgust me," she continued. "I'm ashamed you're my father. I'm ashamed of what you married. I'm ashamed of everything you are." I absorbed it. Every word. Sat there and took it, like I've been taking it for 20 years. Because what else do you do when the person destroying you is someone you built with your own blood? I drove home. Mercy was waiting at the door. I told her everything. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "What about Nadia?" Nadia. Ava's best friend from high school. The only human being Ava had never turned on, now living in Cape Town. I hadn't thought of her in years. Mercy had. Of course Mercy had. The woman my daughter wanted dead was the only one still strategizing how to save her. It took Nadia 2 weeks of daily calls, but she convinced Ava to see a therapist. I don't know what she said. I don't need to know. It worked. 6 months into therapy, Ava called my parents. She apologized. Genuinely, my mother said with tears, with specifics, with accountability. My father cried so hard he had to hand the phone to my mother. Then Ava sent a message through my mother for me times. "Tell him I will never forgive him, but tell him I'm sorry for Grandma and Grandpa." Asterisk. Never. That was the word she chose. I sat with it the way you sit with a diagnosis. Let it settle into the architecture of my chest. My daughter will never forgive me for refusing to pay for my own humiliation. And the person she truly can't forgive Diane, the woman who walked out of a 7-year-old's life without turning around, is someone I cannot drag to any table, any therapy session, any reckoning. I am the father who stayed. And for that, I am the one who will never be forgiven. I wish her well. I do. From out here, on the other side of every wall she's built, I wish my daughter everything good in this world. And every night I sit on that same back porch with a glass of water, and I leave the gate code unchanged just in case.
Story 2.
She left me a note on the refrigerator. Not a conversation, not a phone call, a note, stuck between a takeout menu and a grocery list, like ending our marriage was just another errand she needed to check off, before catching her flight to LA with a younger man. 6 years later, that same woman showed up at my office looking like a ghost, 2 kids on her hip begging me for money and whispering that I still loved her. She was wrong, but my compassion almost cost me everything I'd rebuilt. I'm a 41-year-old man. My ex-wife is Lisa, she's 35 now. The guy she left me for is Leo, her younger, flashier upgrade, who turned out to be her worst nightmare. My current wife is Sophie, the woman who saved me and almost had to watch Lisa tear it all apart a second time. When Lisa and I were married, she had a way of making me feel like I was always one step behind some invisible standard she carried in her head. I worked as a financial consultant. Steady income, good benefits, a house we owned outright by the time I was 33. But steady wasn't enough. She wanted spontaneity. She wanted someone who didn't plan vacations 3 months in advance or get excited about a new spreadsheet template. She wanted Leo. Leo was 23 when she met him at a friend's birthday party. Tattoo sleeve startup founder, or so he claimed, drove a leased BMW and talked about crypto like it was a religion. I remember the night she came home from that party. She smelled like someone else's cologne and looked at me like I was furniture. 3 months later, the refrigerator note, asterisk, I need more than this. I'm sorry, don't contact me. Asterisk. She'd already packed while I was at work. Took the suitcases, the jewelry, half the savings account, left the house keys on the counter like a hotel guest checking out. I won't pretend I handled it with dignity. I didn't eat for 4 days. I called her 67 times. I know because I counted later, disgusted with myself. She blocked me on the 3rd day. The divorce papers arrived by certified mail 6 weeks later, filed from Los Angeles. She didn't ask for the house. She didn't ask for alimony. She wanted a clean cut. And I realized she wasn't just leaving me. She was erasing me. It took 2 years of therapy, a career pivot into my own consulting firm, and a chance meeting at a bookstore before I started breathing again. Sophie was reading a book on behavioral economics, and I made some terrible joke about sunk cost fallacy in relationships. She laughed anyway. That laugh rebuilt me. We married quietly. A small ceremony, 20 people, a backyard in Vermont. Sophie was everything Lisa had called. Boring. She was consistent. She was present. She was warm in the mornings and patient at night. When our daughter was born, I held that tiny body against my chest and felt something seal shut inside me. A door I thought I'd never close. Then Lisa walked through it. She appeared in my office lobby on a Tuesday in March. My assistant buzzed me with a strange voice, said there was a woman who didn't have an appointment but was very insistent. When I stepped out, I almost didn't recognize her. The woman who'd left me for a flashier life looked 10 years older than her age. Hollow cheeks, dark circles pressed deep beneath her eyes, hair pulled into a limp ponytail. She had a toddler on one hip and a baby in a stroller that had a cracked wheel. "Hi," she said, like we'd bumped into each other at a grocery store. My throat locked. I brought her into my office because I didn't know what else to do. She sat across from my desk, the same desk where I'd signed contracts that built my firm from nothing, and she cried for 11 straight minutes before she could form a sentence. The story came out in jagged pieces. Leo's startup was never real. He burned through her half of our savings within 8 months. When the money dried up, so did the charm. She discovered that he was sleeping with other women from his work. When she confronted him about the cheating, he admitted to having multiple hookups because Lisa wasn't that young and attractive to him anymore. She said things got so bad that he started hitting her and physically assaulting her. She'd had 2 children with him, neither planned, both used as leverage to keep her dependent. Lisa wanted me to help her financially. She said she was looking for a job, but hadn't found any luck yet. She hadn't worked for the last 3 months after she got pregnant with her first child years ago now, and the gap in her experience was blocking her from getting a decent job. And if all that wasn't enough, she told me, Leo never married her. He didn't believe in it. He had manipulated her into seeing commitment the same way he did as a cage. That's why she used to call me rudimentary, because I believed in vows, in structure, in staying, but now she said she regretted her decision because she realized what she'd thrown away. I stared at the woman sitting across from me and felt something I wasn't prepared for. Pity. Not love, not nostalgia, just a heavy, nauseating pity that sat in my stomach like wet concrete. I gave her $30,000. I told myself it was for the children. Sophie listened that night with her arms crossed, our daughter asleep in the next room. She didn't yell. She just said, "You have a good heart. Don't let her eat it." I should have listened. 3 weeks later, Lisa texted me. A thank you at first, then a check-in, then a smiley face, then a heart emoji, then times I miss what we had. Do you ever think about us, asterisk? I didn't respond. But I didn't block her either. And that silence, that one hesitation, was the crack she'd been looking for. She showed up at my office again. This time she'd done her hair. Wore lipstick. Leaned across my desk and asked if I could help her with a deposit on a house. $60,000. Maybe 100. My phone buzzed while she spoke. A text from Sophie Times. She's there again, isn't she? Asterisk. I looked at Lisa's hopeful, calculated smile, and for the first time, I saw it clearly, the machinery behind the tears. But before I could answer, Lisa reached across the desk and grabbed my hand. "You still love me," she whispered. "I know you do." I pulled my hand back so fast, the pen cup on my desk rattled. "Don't," I said. Lisa's fingers hovered in the air where mine had been, then slowly curled into her palm. The lipstick smile didn't falter. "Not yet." "I know you felt that," she said. "I know you still." "What I feel," I said, standing up, "is embarrassed. For you." The smile cracked. Just a hairline fracture, but I saw it. The same way I used to see her micro-expressions when she was calculating whether to tell me the truth or a version of it. "I gave you $30,000, Lisa. $30,000. You know what I told myself? I told myself it was for your children. That those kids didn't choose any of this, and they deserved a chance. I called it compassion. Sophie called it compassion. My therapist probably would have called it something else. I'm grateful for that. You're not grateful. You're back. 3 weeks later, lipstick on, asking for $100,000 for a house deposit. That's not gratitude. That's a second appointment. She stood up too, and I watched the performance shift in real time. The softness drained from her face like water from a cracked glass. Something harder surfaced underneath. "You have the money," she said. "I've seen your office. I've seen your car. You built all of this after I left, and I'm not saying I deserve credit, but what? You think your leaving was the favor? You think walking out with a refrigerator note and half my savings was some kind of motivational speech? I made a mistake. You made a choice. There's a difference." A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A choice is packing suitcases while your husband is at work. flying to Los Angeles with a 23-year-old who leased his personality along with his car, and then blocking my number after I called you 67 times begging you to come home? Her jaw tightened. I could see the tendons in her neck. You counted the calls. I counted everything, Lisa. The days I didn't eat. The sessions with a therapist who had to teach me how to sleep again. The months I spent wondering what was so fundamentally wrong with me that my wife would rather gamble on a stranger than stay with the man who paid off her house by 33. I said I regret it. You regret the outcome. Not the choice. You went back to him. Silence. The kind that has weight. Yeah, I said. I know. After that first visit, after you sat in that chair and cried for 11 minutes and told me about the cheating and the hitting and the manipulation, you went back to Leo, didn't you? Her eyes dropped to the desk. He said he'd changed. And when he hadn't changed, when he was still sleeping with other women from his work, still telling you that you weren't young and attractive enough for him, still hitting you, then you came back here. To me, the rudimentary one. She flinched at the word like I'd slapped her with it. I never should have called you that. No, you shouldn't have. But you did. You called me rudimentary because I believed in vows, in structure, in staying. You let Leo manipulate you into seeing commitment as a cage, and then you looked at me, the man who built that cage with his bare hands, so you'd always have somewhere safe, and you laughed at me for it. My voice had risen. I didn't care. My assistant could hear. The walls were thin. Let them hear. You didn't come here because you missed me, Lisa. You came here because you ran out of options. Leo never married you. He didn't believe in it. He used you until you were inconvenient, and then he discarded you the exact same way you discarded me. The only difference is I left a door open and he didn't. That's not fair. Fair. You left a note on a refrigerator. You want to talk to me about fair? She grabbed her purse. Her hands were shaking, and for a split second I felt the old instinct, the one that wanted to reach out, steady her, fix it. But I watched that instinct the way you watch a match burn down to your fingertips. I let it hurt, then I let it go. The $30,000 was charity, I said, from a man who felt sorry for your children. That's all it was. That's all it ever was. You should be grateful I didn't throw you out on day one. You're cruel, she whispered. No. I'm done. She slammed the door hard enough to knock a frame off the wall. A photo of Sophie and our daughter at the Vermont house. I picked it up, checked the glass. Not broken. That evening I sat Sophie down at the kitchen table and told her everything. The hand grab. The whisper. The lipstick. The $100,000 ask. I held nothing back because I'd learned from years of therapy and one catastrophic marriage that the things you hide become the things that rot. Sophie listened with her hands wrapped around a mug of tea that went cold while I talked. When I finished, she didn't speak for a long time. Are you done? She finally asked. Not angry. Genuine. Permanently. She nodded once. Then be done. The next morning I blocked Lisa's number. Every platform. Email, social media, everything. I called my office manager and gave clear instructions if Lisa appeared again, she was not to be admitted. No exceptions. No messages relayed. I'd spent 6 years building something real from the wreckage of something hollow. A firm. A marriage. A daughter who grabbed my finger when she slept and held on like I was the safest thing in the world. I wasn't going to let the woman who taught me what abandonment felt like teach me the lesson twice. Lisa had wanted me to believe that her suffering entitled her to my life. That because Leo broke her the way she broke me, we were somehow even, and the debt ran in her direction now. But misery isn't currency, and regret without accountability is just nostalgia with a price tag. Sophie was right from the beginning. I had a good heart, I just needed to stop letting the wrong person eat it. Lisa vanished after that. No calls from unknown numbers, no visits, no mutual friends carrying messages, just silence. The same kind she'd given me 6 years earlier, except this time, I was the one who chose it. I picked up the Vermont photo from my desk and set it back on the wall. Sophie's laugh in that picture. My daughter's tiny fist raised toward the camera. The door was shut, and this time I held the lock.
Story 3.
My father blew up his marriage, his career, and his reputation chasing a woman 3 years older than me. Then he had the nerve to move her into my penthouse and let her treat me like a tenant in my own home. So here's the situation. My dad lost everything after leaving my mom for a younger woman begged to crash at my place, and I said yes, because I'm an idiot who loves his father. His new wife didn't know I owned the place, started running it like she was the landlord, and when I got sick, she called my fiancé to tell her I was a cheating dog with bad genetics. That was the last straw. I'm 26 male and I own the apartment this whole disaster takes place in. My dad is Richard, 54, formerly brilliant, currently spineless. His wife is Linda, 29, who thought she married a gold mine and got a sinkhole. My mom is Diane, 52, a class act, who warned me this would happen. And my fiancée is Alice, 23, the one person in my life who didn't deserve to get dragged into this mess. Let me take you back to where it started. My parents' divorce was ugly, but not in the screaming in court way. It was ugly because it was quiet. My mom, Diane, found out about Linda the way most wives do, a text notification on an iPad that was still synced. She didn't cry. She didn't throw things. She sat Richard down at the kitchen table, slid the iPad across, and said, "You have 30 days." He was out in 12. What Richard didn't anticipate was the fallout. He'd been a director at a logistics firm for 19 years, and the affair wasn't just an affair. Linda had been a junior consultant on a project his company contracted. When it surfaced, the board didn't deliberate long. Conflict of interest. Breach of conduct. Termination with a severance package that looked generous on paper until you factored in the divorce settlement, the alimony, and the fact that Richard had already been quietly funneling money into a lifestyle designed to keep a 29-year-old impressed. By the time the dust settled, my father, once a man who wore bespoke suits and drove a Lexus, was renting a 2-bedroom in Glendale and burning through savings like kindling. I'd bought my penthouse at 24 with money I'd made in software development. No inheritance. No family fund. I built a platform that got acquired, took the payout, and invested in property. The deed was in my name. The mortgage was paid. It was the one thing in my life I'd earned entirely on my own terms. So when Richard called me voice cracking, asking if he and Linda could stay just until the investor funding comes through, I knew what I should have said. I knew it the way you know you shouldn't touch a hot stove. I said yes anyway. They moved in on a Tuesday. Linda arrived with 3 suitcases, a 5-year-old daughter from a previous relationship, and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Richard introduced her like I hadn't already met her at the dinner where my family imploded. She shook my hand and said, "Your father talks about you constantly." He hadn't told her I owned the place. I realized that within the first hour when she turned to Richard in the kitchen and said, "This is a beautiful apartment, babe. You should have moved here sooner." Richard caught my eye over her shoulder. The look he gave me was a plea. Asterisk. Don't. Asterisk. So I didn't. That silence was the first domino. It gave air to her narcissism. For the initial few months, she didn't bother me. She kept to the guest bedroom with Richard, her daughter took the smaller room, and our orbits barely overlapped. Though she had friends and family visiting her every other day, they didn't disturb me. I'd work from my office, eat at odd hours, and spend weekends at Alice's place. It was manageable. Tight, but manageable. But eventually I found Linda crossing her boundaries. She started commenting that I keep my room messy and that I need to clean my laundry often. Small things delivered with a tight smile and a tone that made them sound like instructions rather than observations. I mean, who was she to tell me all of this? My mom never entered my room, ever since I grew up. I'm living a life on my own. I ignored her a few times. But when she started nagging, leaving sticky notes on my door, sighing loudly when she passed my room once, actually picking up my jacket from the couch and dropping it outside my bedroom like I was a college. Freshman eye involved, Dad? I told him privately to keep Linda in check. He apologized on her behalf and told her to stay away from me. She didn't take it well that I had reported her to Dad, but she didn't do anything. Not immediately. The sticky notes stopped. The sighing stopped. What replaced them was a cold, watchful silence that somehow felt worse. Her daughter, though, that kid had no such restraint. She spilled juice on my work laptop, drew on the hallway wall with permanent marker, broke a framed photo of me and Alice that sat on the living room shelf. Each time, Linda would offer a limp, "Kids will be kids," and change the subject. I started keeping my office locked. After a few months, Dad went on an official trip to San Francisco to meet his investors. Linda used the opportunity like a promotion. The first night he was gone, she rearranged the living room furniture. The second night, she had 6 friends over until 1 a.m. music rattling my office wall. The third night, she knocked on my door and told me I needed to take out the trash because the men in this house should handle that. "This is my house," I almost said. The words were right there sitting on my tongue like a grenade. But I thought about Richard, about the look he'd given me that first day. Asterisk. Don't. Asterisk. I took out the trash. When Richard came back, I told him everything. He rubbed his face with both hands, exhaled, and said, "She's pregnant. Just give her 6 more months. The hormones, 6 months. The investor deal is almost through. We'll be out by spring." Spring came. They didn't leave. The investor deal fell through. Linda's belly grew. And I started sleeping at Alice's apartment 4 nights a week, a refugee from my own property. Then I got sick. Really sick. A 104-degree fever that knocked me flat for a week. Alice was away filming content for her channel in Portland. I was alone in the penthouse, delirious, barely eating. And that's when Linda picked up my phone. I found out what she'd done 3 days later when the fever broke, and I finally checked my messages. Alice hadn't texted in 48 hours. That alone was wrong. Alice texted me good morning pictures of her hotel coffee. She sent me blurry sunset photos with captions like, "Wish you were vertical." Silence from Alice wasn't silence, it was a scream. I called her. She picked up on the 4th ring, which meant she debated not picking up at all. "Hey," I said. My voice was still wrecked from the fever. "Hey." Flat. "Careful." The voice of someone holding a door half closed. "Everything okay? I was pretty out of it this week." I talked to Linda. My stomach dropped before my brain caught up. "She called me from your phone," Alice continued. "Said she wanted to check in since you were sick. Then she just kept talking." I sat on the edge of my bed, still dizzy, and listened as Alice laid it out. Linda had told her I'd been bringing women to the penthouse while Alice was away. That I had Richard's blood, her exact words, and that cheating was genetic in this family. She told Alice she'd seen texts, heard phone calls, watched me sneak someone out one morning. She'd cried. Actually cried. Told Alice she felt terrible being the one to say it, but woman to woman, she couldn't stay silent. "I don't believe her," Alice said. But the way she said it slowly, like she was still assembling the sentence, told me she was trying not to believe her. There's a difference. Alice. I was running a 104-degree fever. I could barely walk to the bathroom. I know. I know that logically. But she was so specific and she was crying and her voice cracked. "Why does she even have your phone?" I couldn't answer that. I didn't know. I'd been unconscious half the week sweating through sheets. And Linda had apparently gone through my phone, found Alice's contact, and detonated a grenade into the one relationship I'd protected from all of this. Alice said she needed space. Not a breakup. Space. The word landed like a brick wrapped in silk. I hung up and sat there for a long time. The penthouse was quiet. I could hear Linda's daughter watching cartoons in the living room. I could hear Linda herself on a phone call in the guest room laughing about something. Laughing. Something shifted in me. Not rage, something colder. A clarity that felt like ice water replacing blood. I got dressed. I walked to the guest room and opened the door without knocking. Linda looked up from her phone, startled, one hand on her pregnant belly like a shield. "Get out." "Excuse me." "Pack your things. You're leaving today." She laughed. Actually laughed the same laugh I'd just heard through the wall. You can't kick me out of your father's apartment. This isn't my father's apartment. The laugh died. Not slowly, it just stopped like someone had cut the audio. The deed is in my name, I said. The mortgage is paid off. By me. Your husband, my father, is broke. He lost his directorship because of you. The investor deal doesn't exist anymore. There is no spring move-out because there's nowhere for him to move you to. You've been living in my house, eating my food, running up my electricity bill, and you just called my fiancée to tell her I'm a cheater. Linda's face went through 3 expressions in about 2 seconds. Confusion, calculation, then something raw and cornered. Richard told me. Richard lied to you. The same way he lied to my mother. The same way he's been lying to everyone for 2 years because he's too much of a coward to sit in the discomfort of what he's done. I called Richard. He picked up on the first ring, which told me he already knew something was wrong. Maybe Linda had texted him. Maybe he just felt it the way you feel a building shift before it collapses. Tell her, I said. Tell her whose house this is. A long pause. I could hear him breathing. Richard. Tell her. It's his house, Linda. His voice was small. Defeated. The voice of a man who'd been waiting for this moment, the way you wait for test results you already know are bad. It's always been his house. Linda didn't scream. She didn't cry. She stared at the wall behind me like she was recalculating her entire life, and I watched the math fail in real time. I had her bags in the hallway within an hour. Richard came home that evening and packed his own. He stood in the doorway of my office before he left, and I could see him searching for words, an apology, an explanation, something that would stitch this together. I'm sorry, he said. I know. He waited for more. I didn't give it to him. He left. My mom invited Alice to dinner 3 days later. I didn't ask her to. Diane just called Alice directly, something she'd never done before, and said, "Come eat with me. Bring your appetite and your questions." Alice told me about it afterward. Diane didn't trash Linda. Didn't raise her voice. She simply told the truth about the divorce, about Richard's finances, about the house, about who I was before any of this, and who I've been trying to remain throughout. She showed Alice photos from my graduation. Told her about the acquisition. Poured her wine and said, "My son has many flaws. Dishonesty isn't one of them." Alice came home that night and sat next to me on the couch. She was still wearing the ring. She put her head on my shoulder and said, "Your mom is terrifying in the best way." I laughed for the first time in weeks. Richard calls sometimes. I pick up. We talk about nothing, weather sports, surface level things that let us pretend the foundation isn't cracked. I don't hate him. I wish I did. Hate would be simpler than this heavy, tired understanding that my father is a man who will always choose the path of least resistance, even when it runs directly through the people who love him. My mom said something last week that I haven't been able to shake. We were having coffee, and I mentioned that Linda had moved back in with her mother in Pasadena. Diane sipped her latte, looked out the window, and said, "Give it 6 months. She'll find another Richard." She wasn't being cruel. That was the worst part. She was just being accurate.
Story 4.
My mother-in-law called 911 on me for putting my baby on his stomach. The pediatrician told me to do it. She told me it was violence. So here's the situation. My mother-in-law moved in for 3 months to help with our newborn, and it was mostly fine until she decided that doctor-recommended tummy time was child abuse. She physically snatched my son out of my hands, called the cops, when I wouldn't give him back, and threatened CPS, all while the actual abuser and her family, her own husband, sat comfortably on the other side of the country, pulling strings. The police showed up, found a happy baby in a clean house, and basically told her they were there for her therapy session. I'm a guy in my mid-30s. My wife is Sarah. Her mother is Dolores. Her father is Victor, the man who actually beat his kids for years while Dolores watched. And then there's Marco, Sarah's younger brother, who's honestly just as fed up with all of this as we are. Let me back up. When Sarah first told me her mother wanted to come stay with us for 3 months after the baby arrived, I said yes, immediately. That's what I do. I say yes. I say yes to overtime, yes to hosting holidays, yes to lending money I don't have. Sarah once told me my spine was made of marshmallow, and she meant it with love, but she also meant it. Dolores flew in from the other side of the country 2 weeks before our son was born. She arrived with 3 oversized suitcases, a carry-on stuffed with baby blankets she crocheted herself, and a list of opinions about our house that she started sharing before her shoes were off. The cat shouldn't be in the nursery. The white noise machine would damage the baby's hearing. The pediatrician we'd chosen was too young. I smiled at all of it. Sarah squeezed my hand under the dinner table and mouthed times, "Thank you, asterisk." And honestly, the first 2.5 months were fine. Better than fine. Dolores cooked. She cleaned. She held the baby for hours so Sarah and I could sleep. She sang to him in Spanish, these low lullabies that made his whole body go slack. I'd come downstairs at 2 a.m. and find her rocking him in the dark, whispering to him like he was the most important person who had ever existed, and I'd think times, this is why we said yes. Asterisk. There were small things. She'd make comments about the pediatrician times. Are you sure she knows what she's doing? She looks like she just graduated times, and I'd explain that, doctor. Fam had been practicing for 12 years and came highly recommended. Dolores would nod, like she was humoring me. She unplugged the white noise machine twice. She rearranged the nursery without asking. Small things. I filed them away and kept smiling. Then came tummy time. Our son was 3 months old. Dr. Pham had been recommending supervised tummy time since his 1-month checkup. Standard stuff, 5 minutes here and there, builds neck strength, prevents flat spots. I'd been doing it daily. The baby hated it, obviously. He'd fuss and grunt and turn red and sometimes cry, and I'd talk to him the whole time, my face right down on the mat with his narrating his struggle like a sports commentator. Asterisk. And he lifts the head, ladies and gentlemen, and we have liftoff. Oh, and he's back down. Devastating. Asterisk. Dolores had seen me do this dozens of times. She never said a word about it. Not once. Until that Tuesday. I was on the living room floor with the baby on his playmat, maybe 3 minutes into tummy time. He was fussing, not crying, fussing, the low-grade grumbling that meant he was working hard and didn't love it. I had my hand on his back. Dolores walked in from the kitchen. She didn't say anything at first. She just stood there. I felt her watching and looked up, and the expression on her face stopped me cold. Her jaw was set. Her hands were balled at her sides. She was looking at my hand on the baby's back like it was a weapon. Dolores, he's fine. This is just tummy. She crossed the room in 3 steps, bent down and scooped him off the mat, not gently. She grabbed him under the arms and pulled him to her chest and turned her back to me in one motion like she was shielding him from an explosion. "You are hurting him," she said. Her voice was shaking. "This is violence. You are committing violence against this baby." I stayed on the floor. My knees were still on the mat. I remember looking at the little drool spot where his face had been and thinking, times, did that just happen? Asterisk. Dolores. I stood up slowly. The pediatrician. I don't care what she said. I have eyes. He was suffering. I took a breath. I let it go. I told myself she was tired, that she was from a different generation, that she loved him and was scared. I explained tummy time again, calmly, like I was reading from a pamphlet. She wouldn't look at me. She held the baby tighter and walked to the guest room and shut the door. I let it go. I actually let it go. The next afternoon, Sarah was at work. The baby was in his bassinet in our bedroom doing what babies do, squirming, fussing, making those little congested grunts. Because his nose was stuffy. No tummy time. He was on his back. I was sitting on the bed next to him, scrolling through my phone, waiting for him to settle. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Fast ones. The door swung open and Dolores was there, eyes wide, already reaching. "Give me the baby." "He's fine, Dolores. He's just fussy." "Give me the baby times now, asterisk." The word came out of my mouth before I could soften it. Just times, no asterisk. Flat. Final. Maybe the first real no I'd said to anyone in years. She stared at me. I stared back. Then I stood up, walked to the bedroom door, and closed it. I turned the lock. For about 10 seconds, nothing. Then I heard her pick up the phone in the hallway. "I need the police." My son-in-law is hurting the baby. He locked himself in a room with the baby and won't let me in. The police arrived in 11 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on the nightstand the entire time, holding my son against my chest, listening to Dolores pace the hallway and mutter in Spanish. 11 minutes of wondering if this was actually my life. 2 officers. One tall, one short, both polite. They asked to see the baby. I brought him out. He was asleep. He'd fallen asleep on my chest approximately 40 seconds after Dolores made the call, because that's what babies do when you hold them and stay calm. They stop caring about whatever was bothering them and they sleep. The tall officer looked at the baby. Looked at me. Looked around the house, clean dishes in the rack, laundry folded on the couch, cat asleep on the windowsill, the little playmat still spread out on the living room floor with its cheerful giraffe pattern. "Sir, the baby looks fine." "He is fine." Dolores started talking. She told them about the tummy time. She told them about the nasal aspirator I used when his nose was stuffy. The snot sucker, she called it. And how it was cruel. She told them the cat hair was a respiratory hazard. She told them the white noise machine was damaging his eardrums. She told them I had locked her out of the room, which was true, and that the baby had been screaming, which was not. The short officer was writing in his notepad. I watched his pen stop moving about halfway through Dolores's monologue. He looked at his partner. His partner looked at the ceiling. "Ma'am," the tall one said, "it sounds like you're describing standard infant care." "I am describing a pattern." "Okay." He turned to me. "Sir, does the baby see a pediatrician regularly?" "Every scheduled visit." "I can show you the records." "That won't be necessary." He closed his notepad. "Look, we're required to respond to every call. But what I'm seeing here is a healthy baby in a clean home with a parent who seems to be doing just fine." He paused. "This feels more like a venting session." The short officer actually snorted. Dolores drew herself up to her full 5'2". "I will call CPS." "That is your right, ma'am." They left. Dolores stood in the kitchen doorway with her arms crossed, vibrating with something I couldn't name. I called Sarah. Sarah was home in 20 minutes. I've never seen her drive that fast. She came through the front door, still in her work badge, keys in her fist, and she looked at her mother with an expression I'd never seen on her face before, not anger exactly, but a door closing. A lock turning. Get out. Sarah times Mija times you don't understand. Get out of my house. He was hurting. He was doing times tummy time times mom. You called the times police times on my husband for doing times tummy time asterisk. If you had seen his face, the baby's face. I've seen it. I've seen it 100 times. It's what babies look like. Get your things. Dolores packed. It took 40 minutes. I sat on the couch and held the baby and stared at the wall. Sarah stood in the hallway like a sentry, arms folded, watching her mother zip each suitcase. Nobody spoke. I drove Dolores to a motel. I don't know why I was the one who drove her. People pleaser, autopilot. Sarah didn't offer, and Dolores didn't ask for her. The car ride was 14 minutes of silence, and the sound of Dolores breathing through her nose. The next morning, I drove her to the airport. Halfway there, sitting at a red light, I said it. "Are you going to apologize?" She looked out the window. To who? To me. To Sarah. To the police officers you wasted the time of. If you had explained the tummy time better, I would have understood. You never explained it properly. I had explained it 4 times. I had shown her the pamphlet from Dr. Pham's office. I had pulled up the AAP guidelines on my phone. She had watched me do it for times weeks, asterisk. You're never going to see your grandchild again. My voice cracked on times, grandchild asterisk. I was shaking. My hands on the steering wheel were white. I told her she is not welcome in our house. I said, though, I was speaking to myself more than to her. If I see her anywhere near our house, I'm calling the police for trespassing. Then I said it. The thing I kind of regret. You're a bad person, Dolores. She had tears in her eyes. I pulled up to the departures curb and got out and hauled her suitcases onto the sidewalk, fast shaking, wanting to be done. I got back in the car and pulled away. A tap on the glass. I nearly kept driving. But I stopped, and there she was, pointing at the back seat. 1 bag. I'd missed 1 bag. I popped the door and she reached in and I said it again. You will never see your grandchild again. And she pulled the bag out and I drove away. She's presumably back with Victor on the other side of the country now. I really can't say I felt better. The rest of that day I felt just sad in general, and I couldn't figure out why. I hadn't felt like cooking, even though I cook most days. Sarah ordered Thai food and we ate it on the couch in silence while the baby slept between us. 4 months later, Marco got married overseas. Sarah wanted to go. Marco was the sibling who'd taken the worst of Victor's abuse, broken arm at 9, bruises he learned to hide by middle school, and he'd clawed his way out and built a life on another continent and found someone who loved him. And Sarah wasn't going to miss it. So we went. Dolores was there. Of course she was. She approached Sarah on the second day at the rehearsal dinner while I held the baby across the room and watched. Sarah had sent her a letter months earlier, a detailed, specific list of what accountability would look like. Acknowledge what you did. Acknowledge times why, times you did it. Get help. I'm sorry for what happened in those days, Dolores said. I felt very tired. Sarah waited. When I was a girl, Dolores continued, my cousin used to hold me down, and I couldn't move, and I think when I saw the baby on his stomach, Mom, it wasn't your cousin. It was Dad. Dolores' mouth opened, closed. She picked up her wine glass and walked away. She never mentioned Victor. Not once. Not the years of bruises, not the silence she kept, not the children she didn't protect. She found a cousin from 40 years ago to blame, and she walked away with her wine. We blocked them both, Dolores and Victor, on everything. Phone, email, social media. All of it. 3 weeks after the wedding, Marco called. Dolores and Victor, who had told Marco they couldn't afford to contribute to his wedding, had posted photos from a European vacation, Portugal, Spain, smiling on a terrace somewhere with sangria. Marco hasn't spoken to them since. My son is 7 months old now. He has one set of grandparents mine. My parents come over every Sunday. My dad, who has never raised a hand to anyone in his life, picks up the baby and bounces him and makes airplane noises. Last week, the baby dropped a toy, and my dad gasped and said, "Oh my God, times, child abuse times." And Sarah laughed so hard she choked on her coffee. That's the only version of that phrase I ever want to hear in my house again.
Story 5.
He's the one guy you don't have to worry about. Let me tell you something. If anyone ever says that exact sentence to you, that is the person you need to worry about most. So my wife told me I was the best thing that ever happened to her in mid-March. By the end of March, she was already gone emotionally. By May, she'd signed a lease with another man, planned a whole new life, and looked me dead in my face and said there was no love left, all in about 6 weeks. And when I finally caught her, she told me it wasn't cheating because she asked for the divorce first. I'm 31 male. My wife is Elise, she's 28, and we've been together 7 years. The other guy, Craig, 38 years old, her co-worker, the safe Christian friend who was supposedly just talking about the Bible with her. Let me take you back to the beginning, because none of this makes sense without understanding what I thought we were. 7 years. That's not a fling. That's not some situationship you can just walk away from clean. 7 years of building something inside jokes that nobody else would understand, a shorthand language between two people who'd mapped every corner of each other. We bought a house together. We talked about kids with specific names picked out. We had a 5-year plan taped to the refrigerator like a vision board, and every few months we'd check something off with a red marker and feel like we were winning at life. I loved Elise in the way you love someone, when you've never had a reason not to. Completely. Stupidly. Without a single backup plan. She started the new job in early February. Government position, good benefits, the kind of career move we'd talked about for over a year. I drove her to orientation that first Monday and kissed her in the parking lot. She was nervous. I told her she'd crush it. She did. The training cohort was small, maybe 15 people doing 2 weeks of onboarding together. She mentioned Craig by the end of the first week. Not in any way that raised a flag. Just Craig said something funny at lunch, or Craig's been in the field for 12 years, he knows everything. Normal coworker stuff. I didn't think twice. Then the texting started. I'm not someone who monitors phones. Never have been. But when your wife is sitting next to you on the couch at 10 p.m. and her screen is lighting up every 45 seconds, you notice. When she tilts it slightly away from you, not dramatically, not obviously, just slightly time, something in your chest tightens before your brain even catches up. I brought it up the first time casually. You and Craig talk a lot, huh? She barely looked up. He's going through a divorce. I'm just being supportive. We talk about faith stuff mostly. The second time was mid-March. The texting hadn't slowed. If anything, it had escalated. Full conversations happening in real time while I was sitting right there. Elise, I need you to hear me. The volume of this is making me uncomfortable. That's when she hit me with it. She put her phone down, looked at me with these soft, almost pitying eyes and said, "Babe, he's the one guy you don't have to worry about. He's a Christian. We literally talk about scripture. If it bothers you, I'll stop." And here's the trap. She offered to stop times, knowing times I wouldn't ask her to. Because what kind of controlling husband tells his wife she can't have a friend? What kind of insecure man can't handle his wife texting a coworker? She knew exactly who I was. She knew I'd say, "No, it's fine, I trust you." And I did. I said those exact words. 3 days later, 3 days, she sat on my lap in the kitchen, put both hands on my face, and told me I was the best thing that ever happened in her life. I can still feel her palms on my jaw. I can still smell her shampoo. That memory doesn't feel real anymore, like it belongs to someone else's marriage. She left for a month-long training at the end of March. Different city residential program. We'd known about it for months. The first week was fine. FaceTime every night. I miss you, I love you, the usual rhythm of two people who'd done distance before and survived it. The shift happened in week 2. The calls got shorter. Then she started picking fights about things we'd never thought about. Out of nowhere, where do you even see us in 5 years? Do you think we're actually growing? The words didn't sound like her. They had a cadence I didn't recognize, like she was quoting someone else's therapy homework. I asked if she was okay. She said she needed space to think. Space to think? My stomach dropped through the floor, but I gave it to her. Because that's what a good partner does, right? Respects, boundaries. I told myself she was stressed, overwhelmed by the new job away from home. I told myself my own struggles with anxiety that month had probably put pressure on her. I was bending over backward to make this my fault. Then came the FaceTime call. She was sitting on a hotel bed. The lighting was harsh. She looked like a stranger wearing my wife's face. And she said very calmly, like she was reading a prepared statement, "I think we should talk about divorce." My hands went numb. Actually numb, like the blood just left them. I remember looking down at my fingers, and they were white. "At least what are you? Where's this coming from?" "I love you, but it's not the same." It hasn't been the same. Since times when asterisk, silence. Then I don't know. I just need to figure out who I am. A person doesn't change like this in such a short period of time because she met someone and everything just goes down the drain. That's what I kept telling myself. There has to be another explanation. There times has times to be. She came home in mid-May. I drove to the airport with flowers on the passenger seat like an idiot. When she walked through arrivals, I stood up and opened my arms. She walked right past them. She didn't unpack her suitcase. It sat by the front door like she was just passing through a hotel lobby. That first night I made dinner, her favorite, this lemon chicken recipe, I perfected over years of making it wrong. She sat across from me and moved food around her plate like a kid running out the clock, until she could be excused. I kept talking, filling silence, asking about the training, the city, the weather there. She gave me one-word answers and looked at the wall behind my head. After dinner, she sat on the edge of our bed, times hour times bed, and said it without flinching. "I don't love you anymore. I want out. Not I think. Not maybe. Not can we try. Just the clean, surgical version. Like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror until it stopped shaking." My throat closed. I sat down on the floor because my legs made the decision for me. I said something, I don't even remember what. Probably begged. Probably said all the things a man says when the foundation cracks beneath him and he's grabbing at air. She watched me fall apart with this expression I'll never forget. Not cruel. Not sad. Asterisk. Resolved. Asterisk. Like I was a task she needed to complete before moving on to the next item on her list. The next morning, and this is where it gets surreal, she offered to clean the house. "Let's make some nice last memories," she said. Like we were closing on a vacation rental and she wanted to leave it tidy for the next guests. I stood in the kitchen watching her wipe down counters we picked out together at Home Depot, and something inside me finally snapped into focus. Not rage. Not grief. Asterisk. Clarity. Asterisk. The kind that arrives cold and unwelcome. For the first time in 7 years, I went through her phone. She was in the shower. Her passcode hadn't changed. Part of me expected to find nothing. Expected to feel guilty to close it. And apologize. And keep trying to save something that was already a corpse. I found everything. She and Craig were already in a relationship. Not flirting. Not talking. A times relationship. Asterisk. They had a lease signed. an apartment. Together. He'd sent her a photo of the keys with a heart emoji 2 weeks before she flew home to tell me she needed to figure out who she was. I scrolled through messages that spanned the entire month she'd been away. Craig calling her my girl. Elise telling him she'd give up everything to start over. Plans for furniture. Discussions about which side of the bed each of them preferred. Asterisk. Which side of the bed? Asterisk. My hands were shaking so badly the screenshots came out blurred. I took them again. And again. Methodical. Every conversation. Every plan. Every lie. Mapped in blue and gray text bubbles. I emailed them to myself, deleted the sent record, put her phone back exactly where she'd left it. Then I sat down at the kitchen table and waited. She came out toweling her hair, humming something. Asterisk. Humming. Asterisk. I tested her. Calmly. Is there someone else? What? No. God, no. This is about times us. Asterisk. You're sure? I'm sure. I wouldn't do that to you. She looked me dead in the eyes when she said it. Steady, practiced. And I realized I wasn't watching my wife lie. I was watching a stranger who'd gotten very comfortable wearing her face. I let it go for 2 more days. Let her keep performing. Let her clean the house and suggest we part as friends and talk about how she hoped I'd find someone who deserves you. Each lie was another screenshot I didn't need because I already had them all. On the 3rd morning, I laid the phone on the table between us, open to the lease agreement with both their names on it. The color left her face so fast I thought she might pass out. It wasn't cheating, she said. Almost immediately. Like she'd preloaded the defense. I asked for the divorce first. You asked for the divorce times, while times you were already with him. We were just talking. You signed Elise. That's when the script flipped. In under 60 seconds, she went from caught to offensive. I was controlling. I was emotionally abusive. I had made times her feel trapped for years. She rewrote 7 years of history standing in the kitchen I'd renovated with my own hands, and she did it with the confidence of someone who'd been workshopping this narrative with Craig for weeks. I didn't argue. I just said I'm calling a lawyer today. She wanted nothing. No equity from the house, no cars, no savings, no spousal support, nothing. My attorney sat across from me and actually laughed. Not at me, at the terms. In 22 years of practice, he said, I have never seen anyone agree to a deal like this. I knew what it was. Guilt made visible. Guilt in legal formatting. She wanted clean and fast because clean and fast meant she never had to sit with what she'd done. I signed before she could change her mind. Someone told me later, a friend trying to be helpful, 2 months is too short to know someone. Her fling will burn out and she'll be back. And maybe they were right. But Times Back Times was a door I'd already welded shut. I declared my birthday in June as day 1. I hit the gym 5 days a week until my body stopped feeling like a house I'd been evicted from. I cooked meals I'd never attempted. Thai curries, handmade pasta, things that required enough focus to crowd out the noise. I reconnected with friends I'd let drift during the years I'd been so consumed with being half of something that I forgot how to be whole. Then I started moving. Hawaii first. Amsterdam, Vietnam. Norway, Australia. Korea. I stood in places I'd only ever pinned on a shared Pinterest board and discovered they were better without the weight of someone else's expectations attached to them. Oslo was the one that almost got me. We talked about Oslo for years, northern lights, fjords, the whole fantasy. I was walking along the harbor at sunset, and the grief hit me mid-stride like a rogue wave. I stopped. Breathed. Let it pass through me instead of fighting it. It didn't sting. It just times was. Asterisk. I forgave her somewhere over the Pacific, 30,000 feet up, watching clouds turn gold. Not for her sake. For the simple reason that carrying it was heavier than letting it go. I forgave Craig too, a man I'd never confronted and never would because he wasn't worth the airfare. I forgave myself for every red flag I'd translated into something softer, because I loved her too much to read them correctly. A person doesn't change in such a short period of time because she met someone and everything goes down the drain. That's what I kept telling myself for months. But the truth is simpler and worse, she didn't change. She just finally showed me who she'd been becoming while I wasn't looking. The marriage termination date is approaching. I thought it would feel like an ending, some final heavy door slamming shut. It doesn't. It feels like paperwork catching up to a life that already started over. Day 1 was June. Everything since has been the life I didn't know I was supposed to be living.
Story 6. The key turning in the lock was the loudest sound in the world at 2 a.m. I nudged the door open, trying not to wake Leo, my 3-year-old. The house was dark quiet. Smelled like stale air and my own exhaustion. I dropped my keys in the ceramic bowl on the entryway table. The clatter still echoed. My life was a series of clocks. Punch in at the warehouse at 5 a.m. Punch out at 1 p.m. Scarf down a sandwich in my truck on the way to campus. Sit through 3 hours of lectures on civil engineering, my brain buzzing with numbers and lack of sleep. Then from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m., I bust tables at a steakhouse downtown, smiling at assholes who complained their filet was medium instead of medium rare. All for the plan. The degree, the better job, the house with the yard. For us, for Leo, a blue glow bled from the living room. Sarah, on the couch, curled up, her face lit by her phone. She didn't look up when I walked in. I stood there for a second, my back screaming, smelling of grease and cheap soap. "Hey," I said. "Hey," she mumbled, thumb still scrolling. I walked over and leaned down to kiss her. She offered a cheek, her eyes never leaving the screen. It was like kissing a mannequin. The distance between us had become a physical thing, a cold sheet of glass. We hadn't slept together in months. First it was excuses. Too tired. Headache. Leo might wake up. Now we didn't even make excuses. We just existed in the same space. "How was work?" she asked, a reflex. "Same shit," I said, walking to the kitchen. I opened the fridge. Empty except for a carton of milk, a wilting lettuce head, and Leo's juice boxes. My stomach growled. Anything to eat. I didn't cook. I wasn't hungry. I closed the fridge door. Didn't slam it. I was too tired to slam it. I grabbed a glass, filled it with tap water, and drank the whole thing standing over the sink. "You work tomorrow?" I asked. "Yeah." The hospital called, asked me to pick up a morning shift. She was a nurse. Good at it too. Said it was the only place she felt useful anymore. I walked back into the living room. She was smiling at her phone. A genuine soft smile, the kind she used to give me. What's so funny? The smile vanished. Nothing. Just a video. She locked the screen and set the phone face down. The gesture was louder than a shout. Right. I headed for the stairs. I'm going to bed. Night, she said to my back. This was our life now. A series of polite greetings and goodbyes between shifts. We were roommates who shared a kid. The arguments started small. A forgotten bill. A pile of laundry. But they always ended up in the same place. I feel like a single mom, Nate, she yelled one Saturday. I was trying to cram for a midterm textbook spread across the dining room table. Leo was pulling on my pant leg, wanting to play. I'm doing this for us, Sarah. You knew the plan. 2 more years and I'm done. Then we're set. 2 years, I can't do this. For 2 more weeks, you're a ghost. You're here, but you're not. Leo barely knows who you are. That's not fair. Isn't it? When's the last time you took him to the park? When's the last time you and I had a conversation that wasn't about who's paying the electric bill? I looked from my textbook to her face, red and twisted with a rage I didn't know how to fix. I didn't have the energy to fix it. I'm sorry, I said the words hollow. I'm just tired. We're all tired, Nathan. She grabbed her purse. I'm going out. Where? With friends. She slammed the door. I stared at the wood, listening to her tires squeal out of the driveway. Leo started to cry. I picked him up and held him. He was the only thing that felt real. Her friends became more frequent. She'd come home late smelling of perfume and wine and slip into bed without a word. Her phone, which used to be left lying around, was now surgically attached to her hand. Always angled away from me. Always on silent. One night, I couldn't take it. She was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A name I didn't recognize popped up on the screen. Asterisk Marco asterisk. Asterisk. Thinking of you. Asterisk. My blood went cold. I didn't pick it up. I just stared at it until the screen went dark. Who the fuck was Marco? When she came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, I was sitting on the edge of the bed. We need to talk, I said. She sighed a long, weary sound. Nate, I'm exhausted. Can this wait? No. It can't. I looked her dead in the eye. Who's Marco? Her face went blank. A perfect porcelain mask. He's just a guy from work. A janitor. We're friends. Friends. Friends who text you at 11 p.m. He works the night shift. It's nothing. She turned away, starting to rifle through her dresser for pajamas. The dismissal, the ease of the lie, it cut deeper than the name on the screen. Look at me, I said. My voice was low, shaking. She turned around slowly. Are you sleeping with him? She laughed. A short, bitter bark. Oh my God. Is that what you think, that I'd be sleeping with a janitor? You really think that little of me? She twisted it. Made me the bad guy. The jealous, suspicious husband. And for a week, I almost believed her. I tried harder. Left my second job early one night just to be home. I bought her flowers. I suggested a date night. She agreed, but the whole time she just pushed food around her plate and checked her phone under the table. The glass wall between us was thicker than ever. The end came on a Tuesday. I got off early from the restaurant, a rare gift. I walked in the door around midnight, expecting to find her on the couch, lost in her phone. But the house was empty. My heart hammered against my ribs. I called her cell. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I sat on the stairs in the dark, my mind racing. Car accident. Emergency at the hospital. I was about to call the hospital directly when her headlights swept across the living room window. She walked in looking flustered. Her hair was a mess. Her lipstick was smeared. "Where were you?" I asked. My voice was eerily calm. I went for a drive. To clear my head. I stood up. Walked toward her. I could smell him on her. A cheap musky cologne that wasn't mine. "You're lying." "Nathan, don't start." "Don't start, Sarah. Where the hell were you?" I was yelling now. I couldn't help it. The calm had shattered. "You were with him, weren't you? With Marco, the fucking janitor." Her eyes flashed. The mask was gone. So what if I was? The words hung in the air, heavy and poisonous. My entire world tilted on its axis. My ears were ringing. "It's not what you think," she said quickly, her voice softening, trying to backtrack. "We just talked." He listens to me, Nate. He actually sees me. "Sees you?" I let out a choked, desperate laugh. "I'm killing myself for this family. For you. For Leo. And you're getting seen by some guy who mops up piss for a living." The cruelty of my own words shocked me. But I couldn't stop them. "You don't get to say that," she screamed, tears finally breaking free. "You're not here. You chose this schedule, this life. You left me alone. I did this for us." "No. You did it for you. For your pride. So you could be some big shot engineer." She took a ragged breath, her whole body shaking. "I'm done. I can't do this anymore." I stared at her, at the stranger standing in my hallway. The woman I'd married was gone. This person was someone else. "What does that mean?" I whispered. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a terrifying mix of pity and defiance. "It means I don't love you anymore, Nathan." She let that hang in the silence. But it wasn't enough. She had to twist the knife. "I'm in love with him." The words didn't compute. They were just sound syllables hanging in the stale air of our hallway. My brain tried to put them together. Asterisk in. Love. With. Him. Asterisk. It was like trying to solve an equation with the wrong numbers. A single cold question slid out of me. "Did you sleep with him?" She flinched. The defiance in her eyes flickered, replaced by a pathetic shimmer of guilt. "Nate, it's not that simple. It's a yes or no question, Sarah." My voice was flat. Dead. She looked at the floor. A tear dripped from her chin onto the linoleum. "Today," she whispered. "For the first time." Asterisk today. Asterisk, while I was hauling boxes at the warehouse. While I was taking notes on load-bearing capacities. While I was smiling and refilling iced teas. Today. Something inside me snapped. Not with a bang, but a quiet, clean break. The raging inferno of betrayal was instantly extinguished, leaving behind a block of ice where my heart used to be. I turned and walked to the hall closet. I pulled out her overnight bag, the one we used for weekends at her parents' house. I walked into our bedroom, opened her drawers, and started pulling out clothes. A few pairs of scrubs, underwear, socks, a toothbrush from the bathroom. I didn't look at her as she followed me babbling. Nate, please. We can talk about this. We can fix this. It was a mistake. I zipped the bag, walked back to the front door. I opened it and set the bag on the porch. Then I turned and looked at her. Really looked at her. I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just a vast sterile emptiness. Get out, I said. What, no? This is my house too. Leo's inside. You have 5 seconds to walk out that door, or I will pick you up and throw you onto the lawn. I said, my voice as calm as a frozen lake. 5. 4. The look on her face told me she finally understood. The man she knew was gone. She scurried past me, grabbing her purse and keys. She paused on the porch, her face crumbling. Nathan, please. I shut the door in her face. I turned the deadbolt. The click echoed through the silent house. Then I walked through every room, locking every window and drawing every blind. I was sealing a tomb. Sleep was not an option. I worked. At 3 a.m., I was on the computer. I found our joint savings and checking account statements. I initiated a transfer. Every single dollar. To a new account I opened in my name only. By the time the sun came up, our shared financial life was gone. At 7 a.m., I called a locksmith. I need every lock on my house changed. Today, it's an emergency. At 8 a.m., I called a lawyer my uncle had used for his business. A shark named Miller. My wife cheated on me. I said no preamble. I want a divorce. I want the house. I want full custody of my son. Okay, son, Miller's gravelly voice replied. Let's get to work. The plan was Miller's idea, but the execution was all mine. It was surgical, vicious. He called it a decapitation strike. I called it justice. A week later, I stood across the street from the hospital, hidden by the shade of an oak tree. I'd called in sick to both jobs. I watched as the process server, a bored-looking man in a cheap suit, walked through the automatic doors. It was 12:15 p.m. Sarah's lunch break. Miller had confirmed she'd be in the cafeteria. And so would Marco. I couldn't see inside, but I didn't need to. I could imagine it. The server walking up to her table. Sarah Miller. Her confused nod. The thick manila envelope placed in her hands. You've been served. The murmur spreading through the tables of nurses and doctors. Her face a mask of horror. And him, Marco, sitting right there watching the life she detonated for him finally go up in smoke. My phone buzzed 10 minutes later. It was Miller. It's done, he said. Public just like you wanted. From what my server said, it was quite the show. She had a full-blown meltdown. They had to call security. Hospital administration fired her and the janitor on the spot. Morality clause in the employee handbook. I felt a grim satisfaction. A cold, hollow victory. Good, I said, and hung up. I was about to get in my truck when another scene unfolded. A very pregnant woman was yelling at a security guard near the employee exit. Then they brought Sarah out, flanked by 2 guards, carrying a cardboard box of her things. The pregnant woman broke free and got right in Sarah's face. Even from across the street, I could feel the venom. I found out later she was Marco's wife. She told Sarah that this was Marco's game. He targeted unhappy married nurses, made them feel seen, slept with them, and then moved on. Sarah wasn't special. She was just the latest fool. Sarah collapsed. A literal deadweight dropped to the pavement. The final dose of reality was too much to bear. The custody hearing was a formality. Sarah was a ghost. She'd spent 2 weeks in a psychiatric facility after the hospital incident and was now living on her sister's couch. Her lawyer was a court-appointed kid who looked terrified. Sarah sat there hollow-eyed and limp, staring at nothing. When the judge asked her about the custody arrangement, she didn't even look at her lawyer. She looked at me. Her voice was a dry rasp. "He can have everything," she said, her voice cracking. "Whatever he wants. Just please let me see my son." In that moment, seeing her utterly broken, a tiny crack formed in the ice around my heart. The rage didn't vanish, but for the first time it was joined by a sliver of something else. Pity, maybe. I nodded to Miller. He told the judge we'd agree to supervised visitation. The first few months were a silent, sterile war. We communicated only through a court-mandated app about Leo's schedule. But the silence was unsustainable. We had a child together. One day, I left a blank notebook on her sister's porch when I dropped Leo off. I texted her later. Asterisk. If you have something to say to me, write it in there. I'll read it. But I don't want to hear your voice. Asterisk. It was a cruel boundary, but it was all I could manage. 2 days later, she left the notebook for me. It was filled front to back. Apologies, explanations, self-loathing. It was pathetic and raw. I took it home and wrote back. I didn't hold back. I poured every ounce of my pain, my humiliation, my white-hot fury onto the pages. I wrote about how she made me feel worthless, how she'd spit on the sacrifices I made, how I saw her face and Marco's every time I closed my eyes. It was emotional abuse, pure and simple. I was flaying her page by page, and she was letting me. She always wrote back, never defending herself, just absorbing my rage and returning pages filled with accountability. Asterisk. You're right. I was selfish. I was a coward. I deserve all of this. Asterisk. This went on for a year. A brutal, bloody exchange of ink. I was addicted to the release of my anger, and she seemed to need the punishment. But then one night, I was rereading one of her entries, one where she described the moment Marco's wife confronted her. She wrote about the bottomless shame of realizing she wasn't just a cheater. She was a cliche, a pawn in a loser's pathetic game. Something in me finally broke. I picked up my pen, but the rage was gone. All that was left was a deep, aching sadness. I looked at the years we'd built, the life we'd planned, all of it turned to ash. I wrote 3 words in the notebook and left it for her. Asterisk. Why did you asterisk? It wasn't an accusation anymore. It was a question. For the first time, I think I actually wanted to know the answer. I didn't know if it was forgiveness, but it was a beginning. A long dark road back towards something that might one day look like love again. Story 7.
My sister Amanda could burn down an orphanage, and my parents would praise her for bringing warmth to the children. She was born with a halo, and I was born with the horns she kept trying to put on my head. When she accidentally erased my final college thesis, a day before it was due, Mom told me I should have backed it up better. When she wrecked my first car, Dad said I shouldn't have parked it where it could be a temptation. She was the golden child. I was the life lesson. I thought I'd finally escaped when I married Mark. He saw her for what she was. Or so I thought. In the beginning, he'd roll his eyes with me. "Here we go again," he'd mutter when Amanda called with her latest manufactured crisis. But slowly, over 10 years, the eye rolls stopped. He started taking her calls in the other room. He became her handyman, her confidant, her shoulder to cry on. "She's your sister, Denise." "I'm just trying to keep the peace," he'd say, that placating tone already grating on my last nerve. A gut feeling isn't a thought, it's a physical thing. It's a cold stone in your stomach. Mine had been growing for a year, heavy and sharp. It started with little things. A shared look across the dinner table that lasted a second too long. The way he'd text under the table and smile, then say it was just a work meme when I asked. The way her perfume, that cloying vanilla musk she bathed in, sometimes clung to his jacket when he came home late from helping her with a leaky faucet. The stone in my gut turned into a jagged rock the day our daughter Lily fell. We were at the park. One second, Lily, all of 8 years old, was a laughing blur on the monkey bars. The next, she was a heap on the wood chips, screaming a sound that ripped through my soul. I knew before I even reached her. The unnatural angle of her arm, the white-hot panic in her eyes. The emergency room was a blur of fluorescent lights and the smell of antiseptic. Mark was there holding her other hand, his face a mask of concern. He was playing the part of the devoted father perfectly. Our 7-year-old son Leo was silent in the corner, his face pale. I was trying to hold it all together, filling out forms with a shaking hand, whispering reassurances to Lily that I didn't believe myself. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. "Amanda." "I have to take this," he whispered, already standing up. "Mark, no." "Not now," I hissed, my eyes locked on Lily's tear-streaked face. He ignored me, stepping into the hallway. I could hear his muffled voice, the tone shifting from worried dad to soothing savior. I tried to focus on Lily, on stroking her hair, but my ears were straining, picking up fragments. "No, he's a jerk. You did the right thing. Just breathe." He came back in a few minutes later, his jaw tight. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "I have to go." The words hung in the sterile air. I was sure I'd misheard. What are you talking about? The doctor isn't even done with her x-rays." "Amanda needs me," he said, his voice low and urgent. Brian broke up with her again. "She's a mess. She's threatening to do something stupid." I just stared at him. It felt like the world was tilting. Her boyfriend of 3 months broke up with her. Again. And our daughter times is in here with a broken arm, and you're leaving. "You don't get it. She's not stable like you are," he shot back, his voice rising. "She has no one. You're here. You can handle this." He was looking at me, but his eyes were pleading on her time's behalf. He was defending her, prioritizing her fake drama over our child's real pain. The betrayal was so absolute, so stunning, it almost took my breath away. Lily started crying harder, her little body shaking. "Daddy, don't go." Mark hesitated for a fraction of a second. He glanced at Lily, then back at me, his expression hardening. "I'll be back as soon as I can." He walked out. He just left. He chose his sister-in-law's manufactured heartbreak over his own daughter's broken bone. The doctor came in a few minutes later with the x-rays. A clean break radius and ulna? They'd have to set it. As they put the cast on Lily, a bright purple one, she picked herself a cold, hard clarity settled over me. It wasn't just a gut feeling anymore. It was a fact. My marriage was a lie. I drove the kids home in a silent rage. I settled Lily on the couch with a movie and a bowl of ice cream and tucked a shell-shocked Leo in next to her. Then I went into my bedroom and pulled out 2 suitcases. I moved with a mechanical efficiency I didn't know I possessed. Clothes for me, for Lily, for Leo. Toothbrushes. Leo's favorite stuffed dinosaur, Lily's tablet. The essentials. I didn't cry. There was no room for tears, only for the ice in my veins. I packed the car, buckled in the kids, and drove away from the house I had built with a man who was a stranger. I didn't leave a note. I just sent a single text to Mark. "We're gone. Don't contact me." His replies started instantly. "What the hell, Denise? You're overreacting. Where are you? You can't just take my kids. Amanda needed me. It's not a big deal." I threw the phone in the passenger seat and checked into the first motel I saw. For 2 days, I let the kids watch cartoons and eat pizza in bed while I let his calls go to voicemail and ignored the flood of texts from him, my sister, and my mother. My moms were the worst. "Amanda is devastated. Mark said you were horribly cruel to him. You need to apologize and come home." On the third morning, a jolt of panic shot through me, my work laptop. It was on the desk in our home office. I had a massive project deadline on Friday, the kind that could make or break my career. Losing this job wasn't an option. I was going to be a single mom. I needed every single penny. I had to go back. Mark would be at work. Amanda would be at her apartment nursing her fake broken heart. The house would be empty. It was a Tuesday. 11 a.m. I'd be in and out in 5 minutes. I drove back to my quiet suburban street, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I turned the corner onto our block, my hands slick on the steering wheel. And then I saw it. Mark's car was in the driveway. That was wrong. He never came home for lunch. Behind it, parked so close the bumpers were almost touching, was Amanda's cherry red convertible. My blood ran cold. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around, to drive away and never look back. But the thought of that laptop, of my career, of the life I now had to build for my kids, pushed me forward. I pulled up to the curb, killed the engine, and got out. The house looked exactly the same. The roses I'd planted were blooming. A sprinkler was lazily ticking on the lawn. It was a perfect picture of a happy family life. A complete and utter fraud. I took a deep breath, my keys cold in my trembling hand. I walked up the stone path, my steps feeling strangely loud in the midday silence. I put the key in the lock. It turned with a familiar click. The door swung open into the quiet, sunlit foyer. And the first thing I heard wasn't a voice, but a sound. A rhythmic, muffled sound. Coming from the living room. From our couch. It was a grunt. A low, guttural sound of effort. That I knew intimately, but had never heard paired with my sister's sharp, breathy moans. The sounds twisted together in the sun-drenched living room, desecrating the air. My feet stopped moving. I stood in the foyer invisible, holding my breath. There on Times Our Times couch, the one where I'd read bedtime stories to Leo just a few nights ago, was my husband. And beneath him, her hands tangled in his hair, was my sister. They were a writhing knot of limbs and betrayal, completely lost in each other. Amanda's cherry red lipstick, the one she always wore, was smeared across Mark's mouth and jaw. Something inside me didn't just break, it vaporized. The rage, the grief, the shock, it all burned away, leaving behind something cold and clear and diamond hard. I silently raised my phone. The camera was already open. I didn't zoom. I didn't frame it, I just pressed the button. The soft times click times of the shutter was swallowed by their noise. I walked into the home office, my steps steady. I unplugged my laptop, coiled the cord, and slid it into its bag. My movements were calm, deliberate. As I walked back through the foyer, I glanced into the living room again. They hadn't moved. They hadn't heard a thing. I closed the front door behind me, making sure it made a solid definitive times thud asterisk. 2 minutes later, as I was pulling away from the curb, my phone buzzed. It was Mark. I didn't answer. Then a text from Amanda. "You bitch, you set us up." I laughed. A real, actual laugh. The sound was alien in the car's silence. The first call I made was to the best divorce lawyer in the city. His name is Mark, I said, my voice eerily level. "My sister is Amanda. Freeze every joint account we have. Immediately." The second call was to Amanda's on-again, off-again ex, Brian. The one Mark had abandoned our daughter for. "Brian, it's Denise. Are you sitting down? I'm sending you a picture. Use it however you want." My third stop was the downtown police precinct. I walked up to the front desk and asked to file a report. A bored-looking officer led me to a small room. A few years ago, I began my sister Amanda stole my identity and opened 3 credit cards in my name. She ran up about $10,000 in debt. I didn't press charges at the time because my family pressured me to handle it quietly. I'm here to unhandle it. By the time I filed for divorce the next day, my phone had exploded with calls and texts from my parents. "Denise, this has gone far enough. You are tearing this family apart over a misunderstanding. Amanda is beside herself. You need to come talk to us." They wanted to talk. I'd give them a talk. We met at their house, the place where Amanda's halo had always shone brightest. She was there, huddled on the sofa next to our mother, her face a mask of tragic tears. Mark stood by the fireplace, his expression a pathetic mix of shame and desperation. My father stood with his arms crossed, ready to deliver a verdict he'd decided on long before I arrived. "Denise," my father started, his voice dripping with disappointment. "We are all very worried about you. Your behavior has been erratic. Abandoning your husband, filing police reports against your own sister? I'm not the one you should be worried about," I said, keeping my voice low and calm. I looked directly at Amanda. "How are you, Amanda? Are you feeling stable now?" Her face crumpled. "You've always hated me," she sobbed into my mother's shoulder. "You're trying to ruin my life." "No," I said, pulling my phone from my pocket. "You ruined your own life. I just happened to document it." I placed the phone on the coffee table and tapped the screen. The picture I'd taken filled the display. Sharp. Clear. Undeniable. My mother gasped and physically recoiled. My father's face went from stern to ashen in a heartbeat. The silence in the room was absolute broken, only by Amanda's hitched breath. "She was vulnerable," Mark blurted out, taking a step forward. "Her breakup with Brian, I was just comforting her and it went too far." "You mean the breakup you left your daughter for in the emergency room?" I asked, my voice like ice. "The one Brian told me he initiated because he found texts from you on Amanda's phone dating back 6 months. Funny how that part of the story keeps getting left out." Mark paled. Amanda shot him a look of pure venom. And as for the police report, I continued, turning to my parents. "For 20 years, you've told me to let things go. When she erased my thesis, when she wrecked my car, when she maxed out credit cards in my name. You told me I needed to be the bigger person because she was fragile. You didn't raise a daughter. You raised a monster by refusing to ever hold her accountable. Well, her free ride is over. This," I said, gesturing to the phone, "is what happens when a golden child is never told no." My mother looked from the phone to Amanda, then back again. For the first time in my life, I saw the carefully constructed adoration in her eyes shatter. She saw my sister not as a victim, but as what she was. A predator. She slowly pulled her arm away from Amanda. "Get out," she whispered, her voice trembling. Amanda stared at her. "Mommy?" "Get out of my house," my father roared, his face purple with rage. He pointed a shaking finger not just at Amanda, but at Mark, too. "Both of you. Get out. Now." I watched as the golden child's world crumbled. I watched as my husband, the man who chose her, realized he had lost everything. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel vindication. I just felt quiet. I picked up my phone, turned around, and walked out, leaving the wreckage behind me. 6 months later, the quiet has started to feel like peace. The kids and I are in therapy, untangling the knots of trauma and betrayal. Leo still has nightmares sometimes, but Lily's cast is long gone, replaced by a faint tan line on her arm. Mark calls. He texts. He leaves pleading voicemails telling me it was the biggest mistake of his life, that he knows what he lost. I block his number, and he just gets a new one. He's a ghost I can't quite exorcise, but his wails are getting fainter. Amanda is, from what I hear, living on a friend's couch. After Brian posted my picture to all their mutual friends, she was a social pariah. With no family safety net and a felony fraud charge pending, her gilded cage has rusted shut. As for me, I found a new home for us, a small apartment that's filled with our own noise, our own laughter. I started running. At first it was just a block. Then a mile. Now I run 5 miles every morning before the kids wake up. I love the feeling of my muscles burning, of my lungs working, of my feet pounding the pavement. It's a feeling of pure, unadulterated strength. It's my body, my life, my rules. This morning as I finished my run, a guy from my apartment building who I'd seen at the gym smiled at me. "You're flying," he said. I smiled back, a genuine smile that reached my eyes. I'm just getting started. I turned toward my front door, not looking back. The road ahead was mine. And for the first time in a very long time, I couldn't wait to see where it would take me.
Story 8.
The Sunday handoff. I hated it. For 16 years, it's been the most awkward 10 minutes of my week. My dad's car pulls up, my half-brother Ethan gets out, and I meet him on the curb to take his bag. We do this little dance so my mom doesn't have to look at his mom, Linda, my stepmom. So she doesn't have to look at my dad either. And most of all, so she doesn't have to look at Ethan. "Hey," I said, grabbing his duffel bag. It smelled like his mom's laundry detergent, some cloying floral thing. "Hey, Frank," Ethan mumbled. He's 16 now, all gangly limbs and a permanent storm cloud over his head. My dad leaned across the passenger seat. "He needs to be back Wednesday by 7. Linda's got that thing for work." "Got it," I said, not looking at him. My mom stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her face a perfect mask of indifference. She watched the car, the street, the sky, anything but the kid standing 3 feet from me. Ethan saw it? He always saw it. He gave a tiny, hopeful wave in her direction. Nothing. Not a flicker. He dropped his hand, his shoulders slumping. As my dad pulled away, Mom finally spoke, her voice crisp. "Dinner's in an hour. Don't let him make a mess in the living room." And then she was gone, retreating back into the house. I clapped Ethan on the shoulder. "Come on, man. Let's go." He kicked at a loose stone on the walkway. "She really hates me, doesn't she?" "She doesn't hate you, Ethan." It was the same lie I'd been telling him since he was old enough to ask the question. A tired, threadbare lie that didn't fool either of us. "Right," he scoffed, following me inside. "She just pretends I'm invisible for fun." See, here's the thing. My dad and Linda have spent Ethan's entire life building a fantasy. In their version of the story, my parents just grew apart. A sad, no-fault divorce. And my mom, she's just a cold, resentful old hag who can't let go of the past. They've sheltered him from the truth. painting my mom as the villain because it's easier than admitting they're the reason our family's a smoking crater. The truth is, my dad cheated. He had a long, messy affair with Linda, his assistant. Ethan wasn't an oops after the divorce. He was the reason for it. He's the living, breathing proof of my dad's betrayal. My mom has never forgiven him for it. And she's never been able to separate the sin from the son. To her, Ethan is a ghost at the feast, a constant reminder of the life that was stolen from her. So she ignores him. An icy, soul-crushing silence that's 1,000 times worse than screaming. A couple of days later, the real bomb went off. I was in my room packing. Mom was taking me to the coast for a week before I had to go back to my summer job. A last hurrah. My phone buzzed. It was my Uncle Mark, my dad's brother. "Hey, Frankie," he said, his voice always a little too loud. "Just confirming the rental car situation for Friday. Your mom got the minivan right. Me, Sarah, and the girls will meet you guys at the house." Uncle Mark was a rare one. He was the only person on my dad's side of the family who sided with my mom during the divorce. He'd called my dad a first-class scumbag to his face and never looked back. My cousins, his daughters, were basically my sisters. "Yeah, she got the big one," I said. "Should be plenty of room." We chatted for another minute before hanging up. I tossed my phone on my bed and went back to folding shirts. I didn't even notice Ethan standing in my doorway until he spoke, his voice dangerously quiet. "Uncle Mark and the cousins are coming." I froze a t-shirt halfway into my suitcase. My blood ran cold. I just assumed he knew. Or more accurately, I just hadn't thought about it at all. Yeah, I said, trying to sound casual. "Mom invited them. You know how she is with Mark." He just stared at me, his face pale. His eyes were wide, and I could see him connecting the dots in real time. The family vacation. His own uncle. His own cousins. Invited. And him, not even mentioned. "But not me," he whispered. It wasn't a question, it was a statement, a verdict. "Ethan, it's complicated," I started, but the words felt like ash in my mouth. What could I possibly say? Asterisk. Mom wants a vacation from the living embodiment of her trauma? Asterisk. "Complicated?" he repeated, his voice cracking. "She invited my cousins." Asterisk. "My time's cousins. Dad's brother. But not me." He was shaking his head, a single horrible laugh escaping his lips. It was a sound full of broken glass. "It's not complicated, Frank. It's simple. She hates me." "That's not true." "Stop saying that," he suddenly roared, and the force of it knocked me back a step. I'd never heard him yell like that, not ever. "Stop lying to me. All my life. You, Dad, Linda, everyone just says, she's difficult or she's holding a grudge." "A grudge about what? What did I ever do to her?" His face was crumbling. The anger was just a thin shell over a deep, raw well of pain. Tears started streaming down his cheeks, thick and fast. He wasn't just crying. He was sobbing. Gut-wrenching, hiccuping sobs that came from a place of pure 16-year-old agony. "Every time I come here, I try," he choked out, wiping his face with the back of his hand. "I say hi. I try to talk to her about school. I wave. And she looks right through me. Like I'm not even there. Like I'm not even a person." He stumbled over to my bed and collapsed onto it, burying his face in my half-packed suitcase. His whole body shuddered. "Why? Why does she hate me so much? I just want to know why." I stood there, paralyzed, my heart hammering against my ribs. The lie. The giant suffocating lie we had all built around him to protect him was finally strangling him. He wasn't a kid anymore. He was a young man being torn apart by a secret he didn't even know existed. My dad's words echoed in my head. Asterisk. "He's not ready, Frank." It would destroy him. Asterisk. Looking at my brother, a sobbing wreck in the middle of my room, I realized the truth. He was already destroyed. The not knowing was the thing that was killing him. He lifted his head, his eyes red-rimmed and pleading. He looked right at me, and in that moment, I wasn't his older brother. I was the gatekeeper. The one person who had stood in every camp, who knew every side of the ugly, twisted story. The only one who could give him the answer he was begging for. Frank, he sobbed, his voice cracking with desperation. You know, don't you? You've always known. Please. You have to tell me. Just tell me what I did. I looked at the absolute ruin of my brother's face, and the lie died on my tongue. 16 years of pretending, of careful omissions and verbal gymnastics, all evaporated in the face of his raw, genuine pain. You didn't do anything, Ethan, I said, my voice quiet but firm. I walked over and shut my bedroom door, the soft click echoing in the sudden silence. You've never done anything. I sat down on the edge of the bed a few feet from him. He watched me, his sobbing subsiding into ragged, hiccuping breaths. Come on, I said, nodding toward my desk chair. Sit down. I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything. He wiped his nose on his sleeve and slowly, hesitantly moved to the chair. He looked small in it, like a little kid waiting for a verdict. I took a deep breath. This isn't about you. It's about them. All of them. And then I laid it all out. I didn't sugarcoat it, but I didn't use it as a weapon either. I just gave him the facts, like a reporter reading a dispatch from a war that ended 16 years ago. Dad and Mom didn't just grow apart. I started keeping my eyes locked on his. Dad had an affair with Linda. It went on for almost 2 years. Ethan's face, already pale, lost the last of its color. He just stared unblinking. Mom found out. It was bad. Really bad. The divorce wasn't amicable. It was a train wreck. And in the middle of all of it, Linda got pregnant. I paused, letting the weight of it land. With you? He flinched a tiny, almost imperceptible jerk, as if I'd physically struck him. He whispered, his voice hoarse. I'm from the affair. Yeah, I said softly. You were born about 5 months after the divorce was finalized. You're the reason it happened. Not your fault, but you're the reason. I watched the gears turn behind his eyes. The confusion, the hurt, the dawning, horrific understanding. The 16 years of cold shoulders and averted gazes and icy silence from my mother were suddenly snapping into a terrible, crystal clear focus. It wasn't a random, baseless hatred. It was a wound. And he was the living, breathing scar. His tears had stopped. The sadness in his eyes was hardening, crystallizing into something else. Something cold and sharp. He wasn't looking at me anymore. He was looking through me, at a past he was only just discovering. So they lied, he said. It wasn't a question. His voice was flat, devoid of the emotion that had ripped through him just minutes before. My whole life, they've been lying to me. They said they were protecting you. He let out a short, sharp laugh that had no humor in it. It was the sound of a wire snapping. Protecting me, or protecting themselves. He stood up, his movements stiff and deliberate. The crying kid was gone. In his place was someone I didn't recognize. They let me think she was a monster. They let me think I was the problem. They made me spend my whole life begging for a scrap of attention from a woman who probably wants to vomit every time she sees my face. His fists were clenched at his sides. All this time, I thought it was me. It was never you, man, I swear. He walked to the door and put his hand on the knob, then stopped. He turned back and his eyes were like chips of ice. "Thank you, Frank." And then he was gone. I heard his footsteps go down the hall, not to the guest room, but to the living room where my mom was probably reading. I heard the front door open and close. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was him. Asterisk, I'm walking home. Asterisk, home. Back to them. My own mom appeared in my doorway a second later. "What was that all about? Where's he going?" "He knows," I said, grabbing my suitcase and zipping it shut. I told him. Her face hardened. "You what?" "He deserved to know, Mom. He was falling apart." "Frank, we leave in 2 hours," she snapped. "You drop a bomb like that and just walk away. What the hell am I supposed to do now?" My phone buzzed again. My dad. I ignored it. "Figure it out," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "It's been 16 years. It's about time someone did." I brushed past her and hauled my bags to the door. The drive to the airport was silent and tense. My phone didn't stop buzzing. A flood of texts from my dad, each one more frantic than the last. Asterisk, asterisk. "Dad, Ethan just walked in." "What did you say to him?" Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk. Asterisk, Dad, he won't talk to us. He locked himself in his room. Asterisk. Asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, Dad Frank, call me now. Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, Dad, you had no right. That was for US to decide. You think you know everything, but you're just a kid. You've ruined everything. Asterisk, asterisk. Then came a call from Linda. I sent it to voicemail. A novel-length text appeared a moment later. Asterisk, asterisk, Linda, I can't believe how selfish you are. We were waiting until he was mature enough to handle it. You just blew up his entire world for what? To hurt us. He is sobbing in his room, Frank. He won't even look at me. I hope you're happy. You've undone years of careful parenting in one conversation. Asterisk, asterisk. The final blow came as I was standing in the security line. A call from my mom. You're on speaker, she said, her voice tight. Your father is on his way over here. He's screaming at me over the phone. What do you want me to do about it? I'm at the airport. That's the point, Frank, she hissed. This is a classic jerk move. You light the fuse, run for the hills, and leave me here to deal with the explosion right before our vacation. The vacation I am paying for. I thought you'd be happy, I said, stunned. He knows the truth. He knows you're not just some cold hag. Oh, spare me the noble act, she scoffed. You made a mess. Now I have to clean it up. Have a nice flight. She hung up. I stood there, a plastic bin full of my shoes and my laptop in my hands, feeling the floor drop out from under me. Everyone was mad. My dad and Linda for blowing up their lie. My mom for the inconvenient timing of the truth. They weren't angry about the secret itself, just that its detonation had screwed up their day. Now I'm on the plane. The flight attendant just did the final check. My phone is off. We're taxiing down the runway, the engines whining as they build power. Below me, the city lights are a glittering smear. Somewhere down there is a family that was just this afternoon holding together by the thinnest of threads. A family I just torched. They say the truth will set you free, but it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like I'm a coward fleeing the scene of the crime at 3,000 feet. I looked at my brother's face and thought I was doing the right thing, the only thing. But now, alone in the dark with the roar of the engines in my ears, I'm not so sure. Maybe they were right. Maybe I just left a cluster mess for everyone else to clean up, and all I really did was trade one lie for a truth that hurts a hell of a lot more.
Story 9.
My phone buzzed on the coffee table, a quick, insistent vibration. Alex and I were in the middle of our weekly ritual, a soul-crushing session of some fantasy video game where we were both getting annihilated. He grunted, mashing his controller. I glanced at the screen. A new group chat. You were added to Alex's Surprise 25th. I blinked. My first thought wasn't anger. It was just confusion. Asterisk, our times 25th was a week away. We always did something together. Dinner with our parents, then a big messy night out at a dive bar with all our friends. It was tradition. Simple. Shared. What's up, Alex? Asked, not looking away from the dragon, currently incinerating his character. Nothing I said, picking up the phone. Just spam. I opened the chat. It was a flurry of messages. The organizer, Chloe, a friend of Alex's from his art class, had already laid out the entire plan. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Hey everyone, so as you know, our favorite guy, Alex, is turning the big 2 to 5 next Saturday. I want to do a surprise dinner for him at the Grove to show him how much we all love him. Please, RSVP by Wednesday so I can get a final head count. And remember, SHHHHHA. It's a secret from the birthday boy asterisk. Asterisk. Our favorite guy, asterisk. Him. My thumb scrolled up a knot tightening in my stomach. I saw the list of participants. Mark, Dave, Liam, all our friends since high school. Then I saw another name that made my blood run cold. Maya. They had added my girlfriend. My girlfriend of 3 years was in a group chat for my birthday and I wasn't. I kept scrolling past a dozen I'm in, messages and clapping emojis. Right at the bottom, just above the message that notified me I'd been added, was Chloe's afterthought. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, 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 oh, and I'll add Sam. Obvi, he can come too. Asterisk. Obvi. Like I was a goddamn accessory. A+1 to my own twin brother's birthday party. The party that was also supposed to be times my times party. I put the phone down, my hands suddenly clammy. The sounds of the game explosions, Alex cursing, faded into a dull roar in my ears. 24 years, we'd shared everything. The same room, the same car, the same friends. The same goddamn face. The same birthday. We weren't just brothers. We were a package deal, Sam and Alex. It was one word to most people. I picked the phone back up and sent a text to Maya, my fingers trembling slightly. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. You see this group chat asterisk? Her reply was instantaneous. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I was waiting for you to text me. I am so fucking pissed for you, Sam. What is she doing, asterisk? Validation. A small, precious wave of it washed over me. I wasn't crazy. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, 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 I don't know. Invited as a guest to my own birthday? A new low? Asterisk? Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. It's not just that. It's the whole for him thing. Like you don't exist. Don't let her do this. Asterisk. Back in the group chat, the conversation was still rolling. Our friend Mark, always the diplomat, threw a life raft. Asterisk, asterisk, Mark, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Awesome idea, Chloe. So this is for both of them, right? Table for the whole crew, plus the 2 birthday boys. Asterisk. I held my breath, watching the 3 little dots appear and disappear as Chloe typed her response. It felt like an eternity. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. This is just a special thing a few of us wanted to do for Alex. But of course, Sam is more than welcome to come celebrate with us. The more the merrier, asterisk. The smiley face felt like a punch in the gut. She'd managed to make it sound like Mark was the one being weird. She painted me as an add-on, a bonus guest. If I came, I was crashing Alex's special night. If I didn't, I was the bitter antisocial twin who couldn't be happy for his brother. She had me in a goddamn checkmate. "Dude, you alive over there?" Alex said, finally pausing the game. "You look like you saw a ghost." "Just got a weird work email," I lied, forcing a smile. "All good." I couldn't tell him. The whole point was that it was a surprise. A surprise that was methodically and meticulously erasing me from my own life. I felt a hot surge of anger followed by a cold, hollowing sense of hurt. All our friends were in there. They saw the messages. They saw how Chloe was framing it. And they were all still RSVPing yes. Dave, Liam, guys I'd known since we were 5. Did none of them think this was bizarre? Did they not care? Maya and I texted back and forth for the next hour. She was furious, calling Chloe every name in the book. It helped. It made me feel less alone in this Twilight Zone episode. "This is a power play," Maya texted. She's always been weirdly possessive of Alex. I knew she was right. Chloe had a habit of acting like she was his best friend, his sister, his everything all rolled into one. She'd sideline me in conversations, make inside jokes with him that pointedly excluded me. I'd always just brushed it off as insecurity. But this was different. This was a declaration. I decided I had to do something. I couldn't let her win. I couldn't just not show up. That would only create a different kind of drama, one where Alex was caught in the middle and I looked like a jealous jerk. I would be the bigger person. I'd go, I'd smile, I'd toast my brother, and I'd let the sheer awkwardness of the situation speak for itself. Taking a deep breath, I opened the group chat again. The conversation had died down. It was my turn to play the game. Asterisk, asterisk me. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. "Hey Chloe, thanks for organizing." "Looks great." Maya and I are in. Just confirming we've got 2 spots. Asterisk. I hit send. It felt both mature and deeply humiliating. Having to ask for a seat at my own birthday dinner. I watched the screen, my heart pounding, a nervous rhythm against my ribs. A minute passed. 2. Then the dots. Chloe was typing. This was it. She'd say, of course, and the weirdness would be over, at least for now. We'd go and be uncomfortable and we'd deal with the fallout later. The message popped up in the chat, visible to all 22 members. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, 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 OMG, hey Sam. So great, you guys can make it. I actually just got off the phone with the Grove to give them the final head count, and the table is completely maxed out. They're totally slammed. Saturday. So, sorry about that. Maybe you and Maya can stop by the bar for a drink after dinner and catch us then. My bad, asterisk. The air left my lungs. My bad. A 2-word apology capped with a cringe emoji for erasing my existence. It was so brazen, so dismissively cruel, I almost had to laugh. The chat was silent. 22 people had just watched me get uninvited for my own birthday, and not one of them said a word. My phone buzzed with a private text from Maya. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, 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 do not fucking go, Sam. Do not go to that bar. That is an order. Asterisk. A second later, another text. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. That is the rudest thing I have ever seen. I'm coming over to asterisk. The front door opened and closed 10 minutes later. She didn't say anything, just walked into the living room, took the controller from my hand, and pulled me into a hug. Alex was still in his room oblivious on a call with his art class TA. Okay, she said, pulling back, her eyes flashing. Here's what we are not going to do. We are not going to stop by for a drink. We are not going to legitimize this bullshit by playing the part of the happy, gracious afterthought. We are going to let her have her little party for Alex, and we are going to let your absence be a giant gaping hole in the middle of it. A few texts trickled in from my friends. Asterisk, asterisk. Mark asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Dude. That's messed up. Asterisk. Asterisk. Asterisk, Dave. Asterisk. 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 WTF. Was that asterisk? They saw it. They knew. But they were still going. That was the part that stung the most. Their discomfort wasn't enough to make them take a stand. It just made me feel more alone. What do I do? I asked Maya, my voice hollow. If I don't go, Alex will be hurt. He won't understand. He'll understand when you show him the receipts, she said, her voice firm. He's your twin. He'll be more pissed off than you are. You have to trust him. She was right. My loyalty was to Alex, not to Chloe's pathetic social climbing. My loyalty was to myself. I picked up my phone, my resolve hardening into steel. I didn't reply in the group chat. I didn't give Chloe the satisfaction. I just left the group. Then I booked 2 tickets for the new sci-fi blockbuster for Saturday night, the same time as the dinner. We're going to the movies, I told Maya, showing her the confirmation email. We're getting the biggest popcorn they sell, and we're going to turn our phones off. The next afternoon, the apartment was quiet. Alex was sketching at the kitchen table, a mountain of shredded gift wrap on the floor beside him. He looked up when I walked in, a sheepish grin on his face. Hey. Sorry about last night, man. It was a lot. Chloe's crazy. Yeah, I said, my voice flat. I sat down across from him. We need to talk about that. I know, I feel bad. I told her we always do our birthday together. She said you were busy with a work thing and couldn't make dinner, but that you were going to try and come for drinks. My blood ran ice cold. She said, what? That you had a work deadline. That's what she told everyone who asked where you were. I figured it must have been a last-minute thing. I just stared at him. The lie was so clean, so simple. It painted me as the absent, career-focused brother, and her as the thoughtful friend who tried to include me. Without a word, I took out my phone. I opened my texts, found the screenshots. Maya had insisted I take of the group chat and slid the phone across the table to him. He picked it up, a confused frown on his face. I watched him read. I saw his eyes scan over the initial invitation for times him, asterisk. I saw them linger on Mark's question and Chloe's dismissive response. I saw his knuckles turn white as he read the final exchange, the one where I was told the table was full. Where Chloe said times. My bad, asterisk. He looked up from the phone, and for the first time in my life, I saw pure, unadulterated fury in my brother's eyes. It wasn't directed at me. It was for me. What the hell is this? He said, his voice dangerously low. That's what Chloe planned, I said quietly. That's why I wasn't there. She told everyone that you just couldn't make it. He shoved the phone back across the table, shaking his head in disbelief. That is the most rude, manipulative, stupid thing I have ever seen. A guest, no room. Is she insane? The relief that washed over me was so total it almost buckled my knees. He got it. He didn't hesitate, didn't try to defend her. He was with me. I didn't want to ruin your surprise, I said. Sam, this times was times the surprise. He stood up and started pacing the kitchen. I can't believe Mark and Dave and the guys went along with this. They texted me. They felt weird about it, I offered. Weird about it, he scoffed. They should have walked out. I would have walked out. He stopped pacing and looked at me, the anger in his eyes softening into something else. Hurt. Regret. I'm so sorry, man. I swear I had no idea. I know, I said. And I did. The fallout was swift. Alex must have made some calls because my phone lit up. Mark called first, apologizing profusely. We should have said something in the chat, man. We're idiots. Let us make it up to you. Joint birthday bash this weekend, our treat. For both of you. The Times, Real Times birthday. 2 weeks later, we were at a crowded house party. The new official Sam and Alex birthday had been a blast, just our core friends, a cheap bar, and a lot of laughs. It felt right. Alex hadn't spoken to Chloe since our conversation, just sent her a curt text saying what she did was unacceptable. I was standing with Maya and Alex by the keg when the front door opened. In walked Chloe. She hadn't been invited. Her eyes scanned the room, landing on our group. She smirked, said a loud hello to someone across the room, and then made a show of walking right past us, pointedly ignoring me and Maya as if we were pieces of furniture. She beelined for a vacant armchair a few feet away from our circle, expecting, I guess, for Alex to follow her. He didn't move. He took a sip of his beer, his eyes fixed on me. Chloe sat there alone, the silence stretching. She kept glancing over her smile, looking more and more strained. Maya leaned into me, whispering loud enough for Alex to hear. Wow. She's being really witchy, isn't she? Alex glanced at Chloe, then back at us. A small, definitive smile touched his lips. Yeah, he agreed, turning his back to her completely. She is.
Story teen.
My house has always been the hub. The place where scraped knees were patched, where the smell of pot roast hung in the air on Sundays, where the door was never locked. When my daughter Leah found herself a single mom, it wasn't even a question. She and my grandson Travis moved into the upstairs suite. Our home became a 3-person, 2-generation whirlwind of laughter, therapy, appointments, and a love so fierce it felt like its own heat source. Travis is the center of our universe. He's 7 with a mind that sees the world in brilliant geometric patterns and a heart that feels everything like a tidal wave. He's autistic. For us, that's not a label. It's just the operating system he runs on. We learned his language, his rhythms. We know that the hum of the refrigerator is soothing, but the sudden roar of the vacuum is a physical assault. We know that scratchy tags are torture, and that the color yellow can bring him a joy so pure it's blinding. Our little ecosystem worked. It was loud and sometimes chaotic, but it was happy. Then there was Kathy. My son Daniel married her 3 years ago. From the beginning, she held herself apart a cool island in our warm sea. She'd watch our easy affection with a look I couldn't quite decipher. Part confusion, part disdain. It was Travis, though, who seemed to be the focal point of her chill. I just think it's a little ridiculous, she said to me once, watching Leah cut the tags out of a new shirt for Travis. He has to learn to deal with the real world sometime. This is his real world, Kathy, I'd said, my voice tighter than I intended. And in his world, that tag feels like fire ants on his skin. It's not a choice. She just sipped her wine and gave a delicate little shrug as if I'd just tried to explain a silly foreign custom to her. Her real issue, I came to realize, was a festering jealousy aimed at Leah. Leah had the first grandchild, and in Kathy's eyes, that was a title she had stolen. It didn't matter that Leah's circumstances were heartbreakingly difficult. All Kathy saw was that my attention, my time, my home was wrapped up in Leah and her son. Must be nice to have a live-in 24/7 babysitter she'd snipe at Leah during family dinners. a saccharine smile plastered on her face. Daniel and I have to actually pay times for help. Daniel would just squeeze her shoulder. Kathy, honey, come on. He was always running interference, always smoothing things over, offering weak excuses for her bitterness. She's just stressed with work, he'd tell me later in a hushed phone call. But I knew what I saw. It wasn't stress. It was resentment, hard and ugly. Travis, with his profound needs, monopolized the family's energy. When he was calm and happy, we were all calm and happy. When he was overwhelmed, the mission was to bring him back to a safe place. To Kathy, this wasn't a family caring for one of its own. It was a performance. Travis was the star, and she and Daniel were relegated to being ignored audience members. She couldn't stand it. This year, the annual Christmas Eve party felt different. The tension was a low hum beneath the carols and the clinking glasses. I'd made all the usual preparations, lights dimmed to a gentle glow, no flashing decorations, a quiet room set aside for Travis if he needed a break. I'd even sent out a group text. Asterisk. A quick reminder for the Yankee swap. Please, nothing with loud, sudden noises or music. Let's keep it low-key for Trav this year. Thanks everyone, asterisk. Everyone responded with thumbs-up emojis and loving confirmations. Everyone, except Kathy. The party was in full swing. My husband was passing around eggnog, and Leah was sitting on the floor with Travis, helping him line up his new dinosaur figures in perfect prehistoric order. He was happy. His low, contented humming was the best Christmas music I could ask for. Daniel and Kathy arrived late. She swept in wearing a dress that was too formal and a perfume that was too strong. Her eyes immediately scanning the room like a predator. The Yankee swap started after dessert. We all gathered in the living room, drawing numbers from a felt Santa hat. My sister Carol drew number 1. She picked a brightly wrapped boxy gift from the pile. She tore it open, and her face fell. It was a foot-tall plastic singing Santa Claus. The kind with dead painted-on eyes that gyrates its hips, while blasting a tinny version of Jingle Bell Rock. The air went still. Everyone looked from the Santa to Travis. Oh God, Carol whispered quickly, trying to shove it back in the box. I am so sorry, Leah. I had no idea. The gift was from a cousin who must have missed my text. It's okay, Carol. It's fine, Leah said, already rubbing Travis's back, though he hadn't noticed yet. Just don't press the button. Please. My lips are sealed, Carol promised, placing the box on the floor beside her chair far out of reach. The game continued. A bottle of wine was stolen. A gag gift of a Nicolas Cage pillowcase got a big laugh. The tension eased. Travis was still absorbed in his dinosaurs. I started to relax. Then it was Kathy's turn. She was holding a perfectly nice gift, a cashmere scarf someone had opened. But she wasn't looking at it. Her eyes were locked on the box by Carol's feet. A slow, deliberate smile spread across her face. She said, tapping a perfectly manicured nail against her chin. I think I'm going to steal. Daniel chuckled nervously beside her. Kath, you have a great scarf. Just keep the scarf. She ignored him. She stood up, her movements theatrically slow, and walked over to my sister. I'll be taking Santa Carol. Kathy, no, I said, my voice sharp. Don't be ridiculous. You know Travis can't handle that. She turned her head to look at me, her smile widening into a smirk. Aria, it's a game. It's for fun. Don't be such a killjoy. She took the box from Carol, who looked horrified. But she didn't go back to her seat. Instead, she walked across the room and deliberately, pointedly, sat down on the floor right next to my grandson. Leah stiffened. Kathy, what are you doing? Travis looked up from his dinosaurs, his brow furrowed, sensing the sudden shift in the room's energy. He looked at the box in Kathy's hands, then at her smiling face. Kathy just laughed, a high, brittle sound. Oh, relax, everyone. "It's just a toy." And then while looking directly at me, she turned the box over, slid the plastic Santa from its cardboard prison, and jammed her thumb down on the red play button on its base. The first tinny, horrifyingly loud bars of Jingle Bell Rock blared from the tiny speaker. The Santa's hips began their jerky robotic thrusting. Travis's reaction was instantaneous and violent. It wasn't a cry, it was a scream of pure animal terror. He threw himself backward, scrambling away from the noise, his hands flying up to clamp over his ears. His body went rigid, and a keening wail tore from his throat. A sound of absolute agony. The music kept playing. The Santa kept dancing. And through it all, Kathy just sat there laughing. She was actually laughing. The whole world narrowed to that sound, my grandson's terrified screams, the grating electronic music, and my son's wife's cruel, triumphant laughter. Something hot and dark ignited in my chest, a fury so profound it stole my breath. In that moment, the carefully constructed piece of my family didn't just crack. It detonated. I lunged forward, not even thinking. I snatched the gyrating plastic horror from her hands and slammed my thumb down on the off switch. The sudden deafening silence was broken only by my grandson's wrenching sobs. Leah had him wrapped in her arms, rocking him, whispering into his hair, but he was unreachable, lost in the terror. My husband was already on his feet, his face a thundercloud. "Get out." But I wasn't done. I turned on Kathy, the plastic Santa still clutched in my hand like a weapon. "What is wrong with you?" I hissed, my voice shaking with a rage I had never felt before. Kathy scrambled to her feet, her face flushed. "Oh my God, it was a joke. You people are so dramatic." A joke. My sister Carol was standing now, her own face pale with shock. "You saw him, Kathy. You heard us. You did that on purpose." "He needs to learn to cope," Kathy shrieked, her voice cracking. The world doesn't revolve around Travis and his ridiculous list of made-up triggers. That was it. Made up. I took a step closer to her, my voice dropping to a dangerous low. "You think his pain is made up for your entertainment?" Daniel finally moved, stepping between us and putting a hand on his wife's arm. "Okay, let's just calm down. Kathy, honey, you shouldn't have done that." "Don't you dare honey me, Daniel," she spat, yanking her arm away. She pointed a trembling manicured finger at Leah, who was now trying to lead a still sobbing Travis out of the room. "This is what I'm talking about. The show is over and the star is making his grand exit. Everything always has to stop for him." "He is a child, Kathy," I roared, the sound shocking even myself. "My grandchild, and you just tortured him for fun." Her mask of composure finally shattered, revealing the ugly, festering resentment beneath. Fun. You want to know what's fun? Watching my husband and I get treated like second-class citizens in his family because Leah had to go and have the precious first grandchild. He soaks up all the attention, all the time, all the money. You act like he's a little prince. And we're just nothing. I'm sick of it. The confession hung in the air, grotesque and raw. She wasn't just cruel. She was proud of it. My husband stepped forward. His voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of finality. "Daniel, get her out of my house. Now." Daniel looked from his wife's contorted face to my own, his expression a pathetic mix of panic and shame. He grabbed Kathy's elbow. "We're leaving." "Good," she yelled as he dragged her toward the door. "This family is a joke." They stormed out, slamming the door behind them, leaving a wake of stunned silence and my grandson's lingering, heartbroken sobs. The house cleared out quickly after that. My family offered hushed, horrified apologies and fierce hugs before slipping out into the cold night. The party was over. Christmas was over. It took Leah nearly 2 hours to calm Travis down. We sat with him in his room with his weighted blanket and the soft glow of his Galaxy projector until his ragged breaths finally evened out into the rhythm of sleep. I watched my daughter, her face etched with a pain and exhaustion that cut me to the bone. She didn't have to say a word. We both knew a line had been crossed that we could never uncross. The next day, Daniel called. My husband answered and put it on speaker. Mom, Dad, Look, I'm so sorry about last night, he began, his voice thick with practiced regret. Kathy feels terrible. She had too much wine, she was stressed from work, she didn't mean for it to go that far. I waited. The silence stretched. And I finally asked. And she's really sorry, he finished lamely. Then why isn't she times on the phone, Daniel? I asked. My voice was flat, devoid of emotion. He stammered. Well, she's just really upset. She feels like everyone ganged up on her. Did she feel ganged up on when she was laughing at a terrified 7-year-old? I shot back. I want to hear from her. She needs to apologize to me, and more importantly, she needs to apologize to Leah. Right, of course, he said quickly. I'll talk to her. He never called back. A week passed. Then another. New Year's came and went in a quiet, somber fog. We received a text from Daniel Times. Happy New Year. Hope you guys are well. Asterisk, it was a coward's olive branch, an attempt to sweep the shrapnel under the rug and pretend the explosion never happened. I didn't reply. Finally, after 3 weeks of suffocating silence, my husband and I sat at the kitchen table. We had talked it through a dozen times, looking at it from every angle, but we always landed in the same place. This wasn't about a simple family squabble. This was about protecting a vulnerable child from a predator. She can't come back here, my husband said, his voice firm. Not like this. I nodded, a cold stone of grief and certainty settling in my stomach. I picked up my phone and called Daniel. He answered on the second ring, his voice wary. Daniel, I said, no preamble. Your father and I have made a decision. Kathy is no longer welcome in our home. I heard his sharp intake of breath. Mom, what? You can't be serious. You're banning her. It was one mistake. It was not a mistake, I said, my voice as steady as steel. It was a choice. A deliberate, cruel choice. She hurt Travis Daniel. She enjoyed it. Until she is willing to come here, look me and her sister-in-law in the eye, and give a sincere, genuine apology for her behavior, she cannot be in this house. She cannot be around your nephew. This is not negotiable. This is insane, he sputtered. You're punishing us. You're choosing them over me. The accusation hit its mark, and for a second my resolve wavered. My son. My little boy. But then I pictured Travis's face contorted in terror, and the steel returned. I am not choosing anyone over you, Daniel. I am choosing to protect a child who cannot protect himself. That is my job. As his grandmother, and frankly, it should be your job as his uncle. The door is open for you always. For her, there are conditions. He said something ugly then about me being controlling, about Leah having me wrapped around her little finger. I didn't argue. I just listened until he was done. I love you, Daniel, I said softly when he finally ran out of steam. But the boundary stands. I hung up. That was 6 months ago. We didn't see them for Easter. They missed Travis's 8th birthday. I get curated updates from my sister. Kathy has been telling anyone who will listen that we are unstable, that we've cut them out over a silly misunderstanding about a Christmas toy. She has painted herself as the victim, and Daniel is her loyal, wronged husband. It has broken my heart. There is a hole in our family now, a gaping wound where my son and his wife used to be. Sometimes at night I lie awake and grieve for the relationship I've lost. But then the sun comes up and I hear Travis downstairs humming happily as he arranges his dinosaurs in a perfect sun-drenched line on the living room rug. The sound of his peace is the sound of my certainty. I made a choice. And every single day I am reminded that it was the right one. Story 11. I'll never forget the look on my sister's face when she introduced us to Rich. It was pure unadulterated desperation disguised as bliss. She'd been a single mom for years, and I guess she saw Rich and his 2 kids as a prepackaged solution. A perfect nuclear family, just add water. Isn't this wonderful, Mark, she'd gushed, pulling my 8-year-old nephew Luca into a group hug with Rich's sullen offspring. A real family. I looked at Rich's kids, Chloe and Mason, who were maybe 12 and 14. They were staring at Luca like he was a cockroach who'd just crawled into their cereal bowl. Luca just buried his face in his mom's side. Wonderful wasn't the word I would have used. The wedding was a blur of bad champagne and forced smiles. I spent the whole time watching Luca. He tried, I'll give him that. He tried to talk to his new step-siblings, tried to join their games. They'd just turn their backs on him, whispering to each other and snickering. Gwen, my sister, didn't see it. Or she didn't want to. She was too busy gazing at Rich, convinced she'd finally won the lottery. The first real alarm bell went off about 3 months later. I was killing time at the mall when I saw him. Luca. He was curled up on a bench by the big fountain, his small shoulders shaking. Luca, hey buddy, what's wrong? He looked up, his face blotchy and streaked with tears. Chloe and Mason told me to count all the pennies in the water, he whispered. They said it was a contest and they'd be right back. My blood ran cold. I'd been at the mall for nearly an hour. How long ago was that, buddy? He just shrugged, a fresh sob catching in his throat. I called Gwen. She was frantic, of course, but the second I told her Luca had been with his new siblings, her tone shifted. It became defensive. Annealed. When I brought Luca back to their new perfect house, Gwen met me at the door. Rich stood behind her arms, crossed, looking like a disapproving statue. He's fine, Mark. Thank you for finding him. She said it like Luca had just wandered off, like he'd misplaced himself. Gwen, they left him there, I said, keeping my voice low. On purpose. He was terrified. Don't be so dramatic, she snapped. They're kids. They got distracted. Rich had a very serious talk with them. It won't happen again. Rich gave a single, solemn nod from his post on the couch. A serious talk. Case closed. I wanted to shake her to scream Times, are you blind Times? But Luca was standing right there looking at the floor, and I didn't want to make it worse. So I just left the knot in my stomach pulled tight. It happened again, of course. And again. Each time a new excuse. A new variation of kids will be kids. Years melted away. Luca grew taller, but also quieter. He built a wall around himself, and I was the only one he ever let inside. My apartment was his refuge. We'd build Legos, play video games, and for a few hours he'd almost seem like a normal kid. Then he'd have to go home, and I'd see the light in his eyes just switch off. One Saturday he called me. He was 10. His voice was small and shaky. Uncle Mark, can you come get me? Where are you, Luca? The park. By the river. There was a pause. Please don't tell Mom I called you. I was there in 10 minutes. It was the same story, different setting. A game of hide and seek. They'd looked everywhere for him, then just gave up and went home. Left him there. A nice woman walking her dog had let him use her phone. On the drive back, I asked him why he didn't want me to tell his mom. He just stared out the passenger window, his reflection a sad, pale mask. She'll just get mad, he mumbled. At me? That was it for me. I dropped him at the front door, and when Gwen answered, I didn't wait for an invitation. I walked right in. I just picked your son up from the park, Gwen. He was abandoned. Again. Her face hardened. Why didn't he call us? Because he's scared of you. The words exploded out of me. He's scared you'll blame him. He's scared of what Rich will do. This has to stop. You are always trying to ruin this for me, she shrieked, her hands balled into fists. You have no right to come into my house and criticize my husband and my family. Your family is emotionally torturing your son, I said, my voice dangerously low. And you are letting them. He needs a mother who will actually protect him. That was the last time we had a real conversation for almost a year. We'd see each other at holidays, these tense, miserable affairs where we'd all pretend for my parents' sake. Now Luca is 13. He's a ghost. He barely speaks. He just exists in the corners of rooms, head down, hoodie up. We're at my parents' for the 4th of July barbecue. The whole miserable cast is here. Gwen and Rich are holding hands by the grill. Chloe and Mason are lounging on patio chairs, scrolling through their phones. And Luke is sitting on the bottom step of the porch alone, staring at an ant crawling across the stone. Hey, Mason says, walking over and clapping Luca on the back hard enough to make him jolt. We're going down to the creek to set off some M80S. You coming, loser? Luca looks up a flicker of something, hope, fear in his eyes. He glances at me. I give him a subtle shake of my head. Asterisk. Don't go. Asterisk. But Gwen sees the exchange. Oh, go on, sweetie, she calls out, her voice syrupy sweet. Go have fun with your brother and sister. She calls them that. Asterisk, brother and sister. Asterisk. It's like a knife twisting in my gut every single time. Luca gets up and follows them into the woods behind the house. I watch him go, feeling utterly helpless. An hour passes. Then, too, the sun dips below the trees. Neighborhood fireworks start popping in the distance. Then I see them. Chloe and Mason strolling out of the woods, laughing, their faces illuminated by their phones. They're alone. My chair scrapes against the patio stone as I stand. Where's Luca? Chloe rolls her eyes, not even looking up. How should I know? He wandered off or something. He's probably hiding to get attention, Mason adds, grabbing a can of soda from the cooler. Gwen waves a dismissive hand from across the yard. He'll turn up, Mark. Relax. You're going to give yourself an ulcer. I know. In the pit of my stomach, I know. I'm about to march into those woods myself when my phone buzzes. A local number I don't recognize. I answer it, my heart hammering against my ribs. Hello. A woman's voice rushed and panicked. Hello, I'm so sorry. I got your number off the emergency tag on his keychain. I found a boy down by the old quarry. He's soaking wet and shaking. He says his name is Luca. The quarry. That's 5 miles from here. Through dense dark woods. He said, the woman's voice cracks thick with pity. He said his brother and sister told him it was a shortcut home, and then they pushed him in. The world dissolved into a high-pitched ringing. Where are you? I managed my voice as strangers. She gave me the address, and I was in my car before I even hung up, leaving a chorus of confused questions from my family behind me. I found him huddled in the back of a stranger's minivan, wrapped in a pink fleece blanket, shivering so hard his teeth chattered. He wasn't just wet. He was covered in mud and green scum, smelling of stagnant water. His eyes were huge and vacant. The kind woman explained what happened, her voice trembling with rage on my behalf. I just nodded, scooped Luca into my arms. He felt so light, so fragile, and carried him to my car. I didn't say a word. There were no words. There was only a cold, hard certainty settling in my bones, solid as granite. I drove straight to my apartment. I didn't even glance at my parents' house as I passed. I got Luca into a hot shower, dressed him in my softest sweatshirt, and sat him on the couch with a mug of hot chocolate while I called my lawyer. Then I drove to Gwen's. She met me at the door, her face a mask of practiced concern. Mark, where have you been? We were getting worried. Is Luca with you? He is, I said, stepping past her into the sterile foyer. Rich was on the couch watching TV. His kids were nowhere to be seen. He's at my apartment. He's going to be staying there for a while. Gwen's face tightened. What are you talking about? Don't be ridiculous. Bring him home. I'm talking about the quarry, Gwen. I'm talking about your perfect stepkids pushing your son into 5 feet of freezing, filthy water and leaving him there to die. Rich muted the television. Gwen paled. That's not what happened. Chloe and Mason said he slipped. They got scared and ran for help. The lie was so bald, so pathetic, it didn't even make me angry. It just made me tired. No, they didn't. They told a stranger they didn't know where he was. They came back to the party and grabbed a soda. I'm done, Gwen. This is over. What is over, Rich said, finally getting off the couch. He tried to use his height to intimidate me, standing a little too close. I didn't even look at him. I looked at my sister. The pretending. I'm filing for custody. Emergency custody to start. Luca is not setting foot in this house again. Gwen laughed. A sharp, ugly sound. You can't be serious. You can't take my son away from me. He's times my son asterisk. Then you should have acted like it, I said, turning and walking out the door. He'll be hearing from my lawyer. The fight was uglier than I could have imagined. It was a smear campaign. I was unstable. I was jealous. I was trying to sabotage her marriage. Gwen and Rich threw every piece of mud they could manufacture. But they had one major problem, Luca. The court assigned a child psychologist, a gentle woman with kind eyes named Dr. Alvey. After just 3 sessions with Luca, she submitted her report. I read it in my lawyer's office, and the words on the page felt like punches to the gut. Asterisk. Major depressive disorder. Generalized anxiety. Severe self-esteem issues stemming from a prolonged hostile home environment and perceived maternal neglect. Asterisk. Perceived maternal neglect. It was the most clinical, brutal way of saying his own mother had let this happen. The judge read the key findings aloud in the courtroom. Gwen sat ramrod straight, staring forward, her knuckles white where she gripped Rich's hand. She didn't look at me. She didn't look at the judge. She just stared at the wall as if trying to will a different reality into existence. When the judge said the words, "Custody is hereby granted to the petitioner, Mr. Mark Jensen," a sound escaped her, a tiny strangled gasp. I felt nothing. No triumph, no joy. Just a profound, aching relief. It was done. He was safe. The change in Luca was almost immediate. It was slow at first, like a plant turning toward the sun. He started sleeping through the night. He started talking at the dinner table, telling me about his day. One afternoon, I came home from work to find him in the living room with 2 friends from school laughing at some stupid video on his phone. The sound of his real, unguarded laughter hit me so hard I had to duck into the kitchen just to catch my breath. He was healing. He was thriving. About 6 months later, I ran into Gwen at the grocery store. I was in the cereal aisle trying to remember if Luca liked the one with marshmallows or not when I heard her voice. "Well, I hope you're happy?" I turned. She looked haggard. The perfect blonde hair was brassy and there were deep lines around her mouth I'd never seen before. "I am," I said simply. "Luca's happy. That's all that matters." "You ruined my family," she hissed, her voice low and venomous. "You tore it apart. Rich's kids feel terrible. You've put them through so much." I stared at her. I waited for her to mention Luca, to ask how he was to show 1 ounce of concern for the son she had lost. She didn't. It was all about her. Her family. Her husband. Her pain. The years of frustration of biting my tongue, of watching her willingly sacrifice her son on the altar of her own desperation, it all boiled over. I didn't ruin your family, Gwen. You never had one. You had a fantasy, and you were willing to let Luca drown in it as long as you got to keep pretending. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the hum of the freezer cases. He was a little boy who needed his mom to protect him, and you chose a man you barely knew instead. You failed him. At every turn, you failed him. Luca deserved a better mom than you. Something in her broke. Her face crumpled, and she started sobbing right there next to the Cheerios. How could you say that to me? She wailed, turning and fleeing down the aisle. The fallout was predictable. My parents called that night. My dad, quiet and grim, said, "You did what you had to do, son." My mom, crying softly, said she needed to hear it, Mark, even if it was cruel. But my other sister, Sarah, called an hour later, furious. Was that really necessary to kick her when she's down? She's your sister? Luca's my nephew, I'd said. Someone had to finally choose him. I'm sorry, it had to be me. A week later, I got an email from Gwen. The subject line was simply, "I don't understand." The email was a long, rambling mess of self-pity. It was all about how hard she'd tried, how much she'd sacrificed to give Luca a real family, how I'd always been jealous, how I had manipulated a troubled boy and turned him against his own mother. It ended with a single line that told me everything I needed to know. Asterisk. I just wanted us all to be happy, and you took that away from me. Asterisk. Not times from us, asterisk. Not times from Luca, asterisk. From times me, asterisk. I deleted the email without replying. I walked into the living room where Luca was sketching in a notebook, the evening light catching the dust motes dancing in the air. He looked up and gave me a small, genuine smile. And I knew with a certainty that settled deep in my soul that I had done the right thing